A maid enters the dark room by opening the door from which light seeped in. The maid says to Her Majesty, the first emperor of the Agnes Empire, that he didn't eat anything again, and that everyone in the kingdom is worried about his health. The maid insisted the empire to have something. The emperor said the word crappy. The maid gets terrified and asks for forgiveness. She says she will take the food away. The emperor replies that she misunderstood him. He was only referring to this book named Chronicles of the Hero of Frosimar. The emperor gets angry, saying that he had never seen such a disgusting book into the castle. The maid curiously questions the emperor about the book and asks, how is it bothering him? The emperor explains that it's a book picturing the future of Agnes. That's 100 years from now. Just like any other novel, a knight fights against the demon king, but the Agnes Empire has already fallen and is in chaos. The humans are blinded by selfishness and none of them try to help the knight. The knight eventually loses to the demon king and dies a horrible death. The emperor says that the details in the book are quite great, as if they have seen the future, but he shouts that his Agnes Empire will never fall. The empire speaks that it's not even worth mentioning, but it's also not possible for him to forget a mere low-class novel, and he resents his memory for this. The emperor utters that he wasted his time by reading the novel, and he will take care of his meal and requests the maid to leave. After the maid's departure, the emperor reminiscent about his achievement. He hears people saying, "Hooray for the emperor! Hooray for the great Agnes Empire!" The people in his kingdom were full of joy that all the land excluding the demons had united. The fairy realm of the west, fishmen of the east, and the giants of the north, those are their lands from now on. The people praises the emperor for this and says that he is the true ruler of the world. The emperor realizes that this is the end for him because there is nothing left for him to conquer nor a higher place to climb up, and he feels empty in his heart. Suddenly, a knight comes running in a palace carrying a person. The knight wonders why there is neither the other knights nor the intruder defense systems working. The palace was that quiet that the knight feels embarrassed to run. The knight thinks why there is no one protecting Prince Zion, whom he is carrying in his back. He thinks it can't be happening. Although Prince Zion is weak and lost the Battle of Throne, yet he is still the prince of the Agnes Empire. The knight makes an oath that even it breaks his body, he would protect the prince no matter what. As he was running, 2 assassins block his way. The first assassin swings his sword aiming at the left hand of the knight. The knight successfully dodges it. Then, both of them swings their swords from both sides of the knight. The knight deflects the attack using his sword and slides back while saying them cowards. One of the assassins says that the knight was lucky because the door was behind him, but now there is no place for him to run, and says that he would kill the prince at once. The knight drops the prince at a corner to fight the assassins. The knight named Fredo says to the prince that no matter how many people come after him, he would protect him. The knight battles the assassins vigorously and asks the assassin for introduction. The assassin speaks that he doesn't have to know that because he will die in their hands anyways. An assassin gets behind the knight and runs towards the prince to kill him. The assassin utters that isn't it better to just die rather than being abused. He also says that he would be merciful and kill him in just one strike. Fredo shouts saying, "The prince to run." As the assassin charges towards the prince and tries to stab him near his heart, his sword stops. One of the assassins says that what is he doing and why isn't he stabbing him? The other assassin who tries to kill the prince says his hands isn't moving and his hands is shaking. The prince opens his eyes while his heart was beating vigorously. Upon waking up, the prince blocks the swords with his left hand. The assassin shouts for help, saying that his body isn't moving. The other assassin charges at the prince, saying him die. The prince uses an attack named Black Star Fall, and the assassins were cut into pieces in a blink of a moment, and the knight was astonished to witness the prince doing that. The knight wonders how is it possible for this incident to happen by the prince's hand. After killing the assassins, the prince says that it is interesting, and this were the very first words that he spoke after waking up. In the novel of Chronicles of the Hero of Frosimar, one beginning, at the start of the story. Some people die, and the youngest prince of the Agnes Empire was one of them. Weak heart that can't even kill an ant, and weak body that can't even carry itself easily. A prince of the Agnes Empire, devoid of any power, and thus lost in the battle for the throne, and was imprisoned, a character. That's embarrassing to even call a character. With only a few lines in the story. According to the novel, the prince should have died in yesterday's ambush. The emperor realizes that he didn't die yesterday because of his power, the Black Star Fall. It's a power that affects the soul rather than physical body. The emperor's senses are very vivid, which ensures that this is not a dream, and he really was inside the novel. The emperor realizes that even if he had survived yesterday, he doesn't have much time, as from this day onwards, after 3 years, this world will come to an end. In the novel, the hero tries to fight the Demon King alone and loses, and the whole empire falls due to the demons. The emperor, who is now inside the body of the youngest prince of the Agnes Empire, feels that this is bad for him, as he doesn't know when he can return to his original body, and he cannot afford the end of this world until he returns to his original body. The emperor understands that he has to change the story of the novel. The war between the humans and the demons will happen after 2 years, but before that happens, the prince has to stop the empire from dividing the forces with this sloppy body. His Black Starfall isn't perfect either. The emperor grasps the situation that the prince is a weak character with no one to back him up, and no one recognizes him. His heart was beating faster, as if he was feeling goosebumps, and the thing he was feeling was indeed fun, because now he has something to achieve, some higher status to climb up to. The prince has to take care of his surroundings first, and also has to find the mastermind behind yesterday's ambush. The prince thinks that even if he is abandoned, he is still the prince. In the meantime, the knight calls the prince. The prince walks outside of his room thinking about yesterday's incident. He wonders how many people are daring enough to even bring assassins into the castle. Judging from Fredo's reaction, this is not the first time for this kind of situation to happen, and the knights who didn't show up yesterday must have part in this, the prince conceives. As the prince was heading towards the door, a knight shouts him to stop. The prince says that he wants to go outside for a walk. The knight replies that it's already dark and he cannot let him to go outside. The prince answers that isn't the palace also a dangerous place. The knight rejects the prince, saying that he has orders to follow and he cannot let him go. The knight's behavior offended the prince. The prince gets angry and asks whose order it is and tells them to remember that they are serving him and no one else. The prince uses his bare hand to cut the throat of the knight who offended him and says that he never gave such an order. He then opens the door and sees the red moon, which proves that this is the world of the novel. The prince comprehends that yesterday's ambush would have been impossible without any help from inside, and thinks that he should consider everyone except Fredo as his enemy. In the meantime, all the knights gathers behind the prince. The knights questions the prince why he killed his escort's knights. The prince answers that he executed him for betraying the royal blood. All the knights get shocked. The prince speaks to the knight that's slacking off while guarding and protecting the royal blood, and aiding in the assassination of the royal blood is a great crime. With the name of Zion Anges, prince of the Anges Empire, he would execute all the knights, declares the prince. One of the knight who was in charge of all the knights understands that the prince knows that they are involved in yesterday's incident. The commander knight orders all the other knights to pull their swords out, and they have to kill the prince right here and right now. The prince smirks as the situation seems very interesting to him. The knight charges towards the prince to kill him. The prince utters that he would add one crime in the knight's list, which is attempted murder, as he is trying to murder the prince. The prince gets at the back of the knight and kill him with his bare hand. The prince warns the other knights, saying that this is just a mere sample, and if anyone leaks something regarding the castle to the outside, it will bring their demise. One knight thinks that the prince has changed and he couldn't even imagine him as weak from now on. The prince says them to don't forget that he is their master. The knights replies saying yes. The night passes, and the prince increase his black star fall power near 1 star. A knight comes running to the prince saying that he has a guest to attend. The prince asks, "Who is it?" The knight replies that Priscilla Barmel wants to see him. The prince remembers that Priscilla Barmel is one of the characters of the Chronicle of Frosimar and will be called the Princess of Misfortune in the future, and that Priscilla Barmel, his fiancée. Priscilla takes a sip of the tea and says to Prince that he might be wondering why she has came to visit him all of a sudden. Priscilla says to Prince Zion that she wants him to break the engagement with her. Priscilla repeats herself that the reason she came here today was to cancel the engagement. She wanted to say something but gets interrupted by the prince, who only says sure. The princess gets shocked by his behavior. The prince tells to the princess that he assumes she has no more further business here. The princess wonders why the prince is accepting it that easily, while the prince comes out of the room. The prince gets blocked by the princess's escorts. The knight says to the prince to go back inside and apologize to the Lady Priscilla. The prince questions the knight what he means by that. The knight replies that the Lady Priscilla isn't someone whom he can treat badly. The prince glares at the knight. In the meantime, Priscilla thinks that not long ago, the prince was begging her to become his fiancée, but presently, he is obediently accepting the engagement to be cancelled. The princess feels that she is the one who is getting dumped and says that this won't do even if the engagement is cancelled. This is not how it's supposed to go. As the princess gets out of the door and calls the prince, she watches her escort, Grego, get defeated by the prince in 1 strike. The other escort creates a barrier to save himself, but the prince sends him flying with his bare hands. The prince tells the escorts that he doesn't like anyone who gets in his way. The princess gets astonished and thinks, what in the world is happening right now? Zion says to Priscilla that he spared their lives and she must take them away. As the prince walks forward, she tells him to wait. The prince turns around and thinks that she is really annoying. Priscilla asks whether she can stay here for a while. She explains that there are a lot of things to do in order to cancel an engagement. Zion thinks to reject her stay at first, but then he realizes that if things goes smoothly, he can use her. If Zion uses her rare talent, which made her the Princess of Misfortune in the novel, he can catch the enemy within the castle, so he tells Priscilla to do as she wants. 3 days have passed since then. Priscilla thinks that it has been 3 days since she is staying in the Pointer Star Palace, but never once has she seen the prince's face. She wonders if the prince doesn't want to meet her. Why did he let her stay in the palace? Priscilla imagines what in the world happened. The power the prince showed back then, she has never seen that power even once, and says that she would find out the mystery of the prince today. Priscilla goes to see Zion while he was explaining something to the knights. The prince looks back. Priscilla asks the prince what he is intending to do. He didn't show his face even once to the princess, and Priscilla assumes that he is avoiding her. The prince gets annoyed and tells Priscilla to watch her words and not to cross the line. Zion tells that he never asked her to stay here. He just didn't stop her from staying here. She stayed here on her own wish. Zion questions Priscilla whether is he obligated to come to see her. Priscilla says no, he doesn't have to. She said that she understands the situation and leaves the area. After that, Zion orders the knight that over the next week they shall double the number of the night guards. The patrol team will be changed into 3 per team, and all knights are required to wear iron plates that cover their neck and heart. Zion thinks in his mind they have to do that at least for 3 days. At nighttime, the assassins get into the palace. The lights were slowly getting off. The prince is sitting on a chair that looks like a throne and senses the assassins coming in. The assassins think that it is strange the security is tighter than what the commissioner informed them. It was as if they knew the assassins were coming. The assassins hears a light sound from behind him and turns around to see who it is. Both of the assassins witnesses the death of their third member in front of their eyes. The assassins get astounded and think there are no blind spots here, so where did the attack came from? The other assassin shouts to save him but gets killed by Xion. The assassin turns around and sees Xion Agnes. He thinks that Xion has been hiding his true power and he must run out of here and inform the others, but in a mere second Xion cuts his throat. Xion says that he was going to let go at least any one of the assassins, but unfortunately this assassin isn't among the lucky one. After killing the assassins, Prince Xion hears the sound of the mana explosion. He wonders if there was any magician in the palace. Then he remembers he has Priscilla in one of his chambers. He thinks that Priscilla was the one responsible for the magical activity. At the same time, Priscilla gets ambushed by one of the assassins who never knew that there would be a magician in the palace. Priscilla says that how daring of him to attack the imperial palace while creating a magic barrier. The knight charges at Priscilla with his knife and breaks the magic barrier, which astonishes her. The knight shouts that it's over for her now and moves his knife towards Priscilla. But suddenly, as the assassin tries to kill her, his knife changes direction, which pierced his heart. The assassin dies without knowing the reason why his knife rotated backwards. Another assassin was hiding and planning to attack the Prince Xion, but he feels terrified. He never thought such a strong figure will be present in the Pointer Star Palace, which was said to be abandoned. Prince Xion feels the presence of the assassin who is hiding. Priscilla calls. Prince Xion who activates a new power. The tracking technique of the Black Star Fall, which creates a dark soul thread only visible to Xion, and it follows the assassin. This power will lead Xion to the main base of his enemies, and Xion says that he would visit them very soon. Prince Xion was happy that the Black Star Fall has increased its potency and reached level 1, but he worries about the severity of the burden on his body, and realizes that he needs to strengthen his body. Prince Xion has a visitor who was a person named Evelyn Agnes. In the novel The Chronicles of the Hero of Frozimar, she was the closest character to being the main character, aside from the hero. As one of the princesses of the Agnes Empire, she was the closest candidate to the next emperor. Among the members of the royal family, she was the only woman who supported the hero's party, and to be exact, she intended to that. Prince Xion walked up to the room to meet his visitor. His presence was announced, and he sits on the sofa, which is directly opposite to Evelyn Agnes. Princess Evelyn asks Xion if he feels fine. She says she heard that there was an attack in the palace last night. Prince Xion replies that he is fine. He was surprised that the incident was already leaked to the outside. Princess Evelyn thinks that yesterday's attack might have taken a toll on him to change him this much in just one night. She feels sorry for him and says that she is happy to see that he is doing good. She says she would find out and punish those who have attacked that palace, and she would also strengthen the security of the palace for him to be reassured. Prince Xion replies that there is no need for Princess Evelyn to take that much trouble. In addition, he says that he has adequate security already. However, Prince Xion demands to know the reason of Princess Evelyn's arrival. Princess Evelyn replies that she has came here out of her concern for him after hearing the news of last night. She says that Prince Xion is his little even though they have different mothers, and he would be an adult soon. She reminds Prince Xion that there would be a succession ceremony soon. She told him to give up upon participating on the succession ceremony. Prince Xion asks her to give an appropriate reason for him to not participate. Princess Evelyn says that is thoughtless of him to ask such question because he won't pass the succession ceremony as he neither possesses, have the strength nor the skill to back him up. She explains that Prince Xion will not be able to clear the first trial and will be left lying on the ground, and even if he passes the first trial and gains entrance to the White Star Palace. The White Star Palace is much more harsher from the succession ceremony. Princess Evelyn gets furious and predicts that he won't last even a day and tries to persuade the young prince to give up on the ceremony. Then the Celestial Star C appeared. The Celestial Star C is the power that is only passed down to the Agnes royal family's direct descendants. It is the authority to rule over everything in the world. Prince Zion stares straight in Evelyn's eyes and says he wants to know the name of the person who said that he doesn't have the power to defend himself in the succession ceremony. Princess Evelyn returns to her palace. A knight asks Princess Evelyn about the reason for taking the knights along with her. Princess Evelyn replies that Prince Zion will not give up on the succession ceremony. Princess Evelyn thinks that Prince Zion has changed and she cannot think of him as weak anymore. She wonders when Zion grew this much. The power Zion showed her was definitely not the celestial star sea. Princess Evelyn orders the knight to increase the guards around the castle without getting caught by Zion, and also says to keep watch on Zion's movements. Fredo says to Prince Zion that Princess Evelyn must have liked him very much, as she sent something as precious as this elixir to him. The elixir contains the power and stamina of a 1,000-year-old ogre. Prince Zion finds it hard to believe that Princess Evelyn can support him to this extent. Well, Prince Zion was also surprised by the appearance of Celestial Star Sea. The working system and trait of the Celestial Star Sea matches with Zion's power, Black Star Fall. He wonders how can something so similar exist, but he remembers that he is in the novel, and something like this can happen. Prince Zion thinks that Princess Evelyn's gift will be useful in the near future, so he kept it. The maid announces the presence of Priscilla, and the prince told them to let her in. Priscilla demands to know the reason why she was called here after getting treated like she didn't exist. Prince Zion answers that she has stayed in the castle for a long time and she have to pay for her stay. Priscilla seems confused and asks Zion, what does he mean by it? Prince Zion gives Priscilla a picture of a magic circle and asks her how much time she would need to complete and activate this magic circle. Priscilla gets surprised and demands to know how and where did the prince got this magic circle. Zion replies that he drew it. Priscilla gets even more astonished and says, starting from the formula and structure and the principles, she has never seen anything like this until now. Prince Zion asks her how long it will take her to activate the magic circle. Priscilla replies she would complete the process in the next day. Priscilla didn't expect Prince Zion to know so much about magic. She guesses that this magic circle might be some detection magic, but it's like pulling out something by force. Priscilla asks for the purpose of the magic circle. Prince Zion replies that it's meant for hunting. Prince Zion instructs everyone to gather around the spot of the magic circle. One of the maid wonders about the reason why Prince Zion told everybody to gather here. The other person, who happens to be the chief of the maid, says that he doesn't know either because the prince has changed and he can no longer understand him. Since the prince changed, the maid says that the new attitude of the prince makes him look scary. Then, Prince Zion tells Priscilla to activate the magic circle. Priscilla recites some spells, and the magic circle transforms to enemy detection, magic circle, and Priscilla finishes the circle by giving it some of her blood. The chief transforms to a monster. Enemy detection magic circle reveals the true self of the enemy in a certain range. Priscilla gets shocked and asks what type of thing it is. The young prince replies that it's the enemy of the palace. Prince Zion recalls that this monster is the true enemy of the chronicles of the hero of Frosimar. This monster is the one who serves the demon king and drives the world to an end, and other monsters also appears. Priscilla gets scared as the monster charges to attack her first, and everyone shouts to protect Priscilla by any means necessary. Prince Zion thinks that this was expected as the blood of Priscilla, which is called the evil blood, is like a heavenly elixir for the monsters. According to the novel, Priscilla will be taken by the demons who were after the evil blood and was used to supply them. The blood without being able to live or die. That was the reason why she was called the Princess of Misfortune. The knights starts to kill the monsters with their swords while Princess Zion moves forward. Prince Zion thinks that these monsters are very strong and even the lowest class monsters are way more powerful than regular humans. The demon territory is full of those kinds of monsters. Prince Zion stands straight near the monster, as if he was trying to get attacked by it. Prince Zion grabs the monster's neck and uses his power. He detects that it has two hearts. The monster pushes Prince Zion away. Then, the monster turns around and saw the magic circle. The monster wonders what kind of power he is facing and demands to know the identity of Prince Zion. Prince Zion replies that he is the monster's enemy. The monster charges at Prince Zion. Zion activates his power, the Black Starfall, and releases an aura which covers the monster. Zion defeats the monster and thinks that this could have been difficult for him if Black Star didn't reach level 1. He broke the monster's core, so it should be impossible for the monster to send any information to the demon territory. Some of the knights that Evelyn secretly deployed to monitor Prince Zion barged into the area. One of the knights greets the young prince and introduces himself as Alex from Lion Knightage. The knight asks Prince Zion to tell them about all that happened when he was alone with the monster. Immediately, Prince Zion perceives that they are Evelyn's knights. Zion replies, "Nothing much, he was just defeating the enemies." Prince Zion decides to hide the existence of demons so that he can hunt them all without playing hide and seek. At one of the palace, a knight reports to one of his prince, who happens to be Prince Zion's rival. The knights report that something happened at Prince Zion's palace. The prince asks the knight if he is referring about the failed operation they planned against Prince Zion. The knight replies that something happened after the failed operation. A dark energy was detected from Prince Zion's palace. Black magic? What does it mean? The prince investigates. The knight replies that he doesn't know much about it either, as all of their spies have been taken down and stopped sending any further information. Even the maids and servants of the palace are not willing to share any information, no matter how many times the knight investigates them. The prince orders to plant some more spies in Zion's palace. The knight says that there is a rumor about the sudden change in Prince Zion's attitude. The prince orders the knight to explain himself. The knight explains that Prince Zion has gotten really brutal, and he wields a special power, which is unknown to all. The prince believes that Prince Zion may have finally got mad as his life was an utter failure, and says that he doesn't believe in such rumors. He thinks that Prince Zion was a loser since birth, and the only thing he inherited from the Agnes blood is the hair color. No matter how hard he fights back, he is just a crawling bug. The prince asks the knight if Prince Zion still plans to take over the throne in this succession ceremony as his time has come. The knight replies that Prince Zion has no intentions of giving up in this succession ceremony. The prince replies that Zion must have been out of his mind and that he doesn't know his place. The prince reminds the knight about the ceremony and says the knight that he wanted to make it look interesting. Since the succession ceremony comes up in a week, Prince Zion is looking for a certain place which he knew was somewhere near here. It was quite easy for the prince to get to the outer areas of the palace. Prince Zion thinks that people are suspicious of him, but he won't be seeing them for a while as he took care of it. Prince Zion arrives at the Meal of the Moonlight. It's a restaurant that's quite popular in the capital city. So popular that a person can't go upstairs where the private rooms exist unless they make an appointment. But the true identity of this place is Information Guild, Eye of the Moon. To be more precise, it is one of the secret branches of the Eye of the Moon Guild. Zion seats at the restaurant where a waiter attends him. The waiter asks for his order. The prince says the code that he would like sunlight liquor and fried snowflower for a snack. The waiter leads him to the upstairs where the branch manager resides. The branch manager replies that it's her first time seeing a guest from this specific place. Prince Zion asks the branch manager if he can make a request. The branch manager says that he needs to introduce himself before she grants him any request. Prince Zion replies that since when did the Information Guild asks for the employer's identity? The branch manager explains that they usually do not ask for the customer's identity, but it's a special case, as this place has recently become a new branch for the Eye of the Moon, and they are not official yet. So this place is unknown to all. Even most of the core members didn't know the location. In addition, she remembers all the faces that knew this secret place. Suddenly, the escorts protecting the branch manager becomes suspicious of Prince Zion and surrounds him. Before the branch manager could react, Prince Zion activates the aura of the Black Star and massacres all the killers with a strong, diffusing dark energy. For a moment, the branch member, whose name is Aileen, gets frozen with fear, wondering how the professional escorts who were assigned to protect her were all defeated in mere seconds. There were also some guys from the main branch of the Eye of the Moon. Prince Zion says to Aileen that how he found the place is not important. The most important matter is that he has a commission for Lady Aileen, and she have to grant his request. Lady Aileen asks the young prince what he wants from her. The prince replies that he wants a fake-eyed and the information about the Black Forest. After Prince Zion's departure, the man who happened to be the waiter asks Miss Aileen's reasons for accepting the demands of Prince Zion. Miss Aileen asks the waiter if he remembers about the fight earlier. In that fight, the prince's robe slightly came off, and Aileen noticed the gray hair, a type of hair which belongs only to the royal family house of Agnes. Miss Aileen conceives that one of the members from the Agnes family might have started taking action. The waiter says that he would hire a top-tier agent into this matter. Miss Aileen orders the waiter to find every single details about him. Who is he in the royal family? Why did he left the imperial castle? And lastly, why did he traveled? In addition, Miss Aileen says to him to also find any details regarding the Black Forest. She wonders about the identity of the person. She was surprised to witness the charisma and the power to take everything down at once which the intruder showed a mere moments ago. Miss Aileen thinks that he might be the candidate for the throne in the succession ceremony. At the Pointer Palace, no matter how Priscilla thinks about it, she still doesn't understand. She guesses that the magic circle was not simple and can only be done by a dark magician. On top of that, it was a circle for detecting the enemy within the castle. She concludes that the royal family might also has doubts about the previous incident. Priscilla thinks that she has the right to know something regarding the incident from the prince, as she was the who activated the magic circle and also provided her blood. Priscilla gets angry and quickly walks near the prince's chamber. The guard stops her from entering. Priscilla demands to know the reason for their rude behavior. The knight replies that the prince had given orders to not let anybody inside at this moment, as he was shocked from the recent incident. Priscilla gets furious and tells them not to lie, as the prince was the one responsible for defeating the monster. How can the prince be in shock? Priscilla questions the knight. The knight says the princess to refrain from saying about those incident, as Prince Zion has strictly decreed silence upon the matter. The news traveling outside will not be accepted. Priscilla refuses the knight, saying that she is neither from the Pointer Palace nor the prince's fiancée, so that why would she follow the prince? Priscilla suddenly feels guilty, as she was the one who wanted to stay at the palace on her own wish. The guard says that the young prince left a message for Lady Priscilla, and it says that Priscilla should leave the palace quickly, if she doesn't have any further business here. The prince boarded the train which works on mana. The prince remembers that, in his timeline from the past life, this system never existed. This might be possible because the novel took place after centuries into the future of the original timeline. He says that he would use this method in the original world. Zion discovers that there have been some eyes watching over him since his departure from the Eye of the Moon. Zion thinks that he predicted it right, as he even showed his hair color intentionally, because if they monitors him from close distance, it would be easier for him to keep an watch on them as well. The prince thinks in his mind that the place he is going into will serve as the eyes and ears of the hero who would appear in the near future. There is a guild that would provide all support to the hero, purely with the belief of saving the world without any gains, and the prince wants to see them with his own eyes. An announcement was made that the train will be arriving at the ruin station shortly, and the passengers who would like to exit can depart from the door at their left. The prince gets up from his seats, while thinking that he needs to hire some people who will work as his hands and feet, because the knights at his palace lacks power and skills, and he doesn't have time to give them training lessons. Prince Zion realizes that he needs to use the information that he read in the novel, and he would acquire his first subordinate in the outer city of Ruin, and specifically, he would find the person in an area close to this. Prince Zion thinks that he made it just in time, as the Purification Festival will start. The Purification Festival is a festival which is held once a month in Ruin. An event to purify sins and pray for future well-being, through beings protecting the city. According to the novel, Ruin would meet its downfall in this Purification Festival, and the Black Forest is the starting point of Ruin's downfall. It's a place that's said to be only known to the Lord of Ruin and his family, and the Lord's permission is necessary to enter the Black Forest. Prince Zion perceives that there is a spy from the Information Guild following him and forces him to come out. He says to the spy that he will add another commission and tells him to find information about the ongoing mercenary recruitment at the Lord's castle and the location of those bearing a six-headed beast tattoo in this city. Prince Zion says that he assumes it will not take long for him to find the informations, as he is from the best intelligence guilds in the empire. After saying that, Prince Zion leaves the area. Another castle came into view at the ruin. Rain draw near a character who is having a conversation with her father, the landlord of this city. She says to her father that she got an opportunity, and now she would decimate every purifiers in this land. Rain's father says that even their ancestors who can control the dragons were also lacking in power while facing them. Her father demands to know the reason what she is planning to eradicate this monsters. Rain Dranier replies that she would never let those bastards take any more part of this land. Rian thinks, even if the purifiers are viewed as the hero who subjugated the evil, still, it doesn't change the fact that the purifiers are controlling the country to their own benefit. Then, Rain Dranier leaves the room and went to the outside area where she meets her peers, who are known as the 7 elites of the north. One of the 7 elites asks Rain Dranier for the reason of her face being this irritated. Ragno, one her peers say that the reason she is annoyed might be because she again got scolded by her old man. Lian says to Ragno to mind his offensive words, as the old man he is referring to is the landlord of this city. Ragno says that Lian is being too serious in all matters. Lian replies that he can't disrespect the landlord. Rain Dranier demands both of them to keep quiet and asks them about the requirement, and how is it going, and if there is anyone useful among them. Ragno say that even having 10s of them is useless, and they should do their jobs themselves. A yellow-hair guy says that he is not sure if there is any useful people among them, but there are some interesting guys out there, and one of them might be useful. At that moment, our prince enters the area using a disguise. All people gather near the 7 elites and starts gossiping. They says that Ragno of the Red Palace Wall is here too, and why all the 7 elites of the north has gathered here all together. The young prince thinks that according to the novel, this woman, Rain Dranier, is one of the hero's allies in the future, with the talent given by the heavens that only appears once in 1,000 years, strongest spear user in history. Dragon Slayer, King Godly Spear are all the titles she attains in the future. She stands as one of the strongest character in the chronicles of the hero of Frosimar. The prince, in order to participate in the competition, uses the name Zeon Harness instead of Zeon Agnes. The prince's opponent uses a nickname Human Slaughter, and his name is Uro. In the novel, he was a notorious criminal who was on the wanted list, but even the troops were afraid to arrest him. The prince concludes that the 7 elites only judges people with their skills only. Uro says that Prince is going to die and warns him to retreat, or else it will bring his demise. Uro charges at Zion, saying that he would now break his limbs. He jumps and tries to attack from above. The young prince analyzes his opponent's posture. He analyzes the strength point and says that every movement that exists in this world has strength points, tens of strength points in every move, and disturbing even. Just one would break the movement. The prince concludes that he even won't have to use his black star fall. Zion easily dodges the attack and says that Uro's attack won't work on him. While dodging the attack, Zion uses his legs' movement to stop Uro's movement and punches him straight to the face, and the opponent goes flying away. The watchers get shocked and says, "How did he achieve this feat?" The judge compliments the prince, saying that he only used minimum and basics movements to win against an opponent. The judge concludes that usually people do that when the opponent is very strong, but the prince is using this basics movement because he was born with a weak body and his body cannot keep up with his mind. That's why he is being efficient while using his strength. Rain Dranir agrees with him. "Ragno?" asks Rain Dranir. If she is interesting in this young man because it seems he has a good skill and everyone among the 7 elites can do that also. Ragno added that he may not be able to handle the 7 elites with this sloppy body of his. Lian says that he has the same thought. He can see the afford he put on his training, but he was born weak. Lian praises the young prince, saying that he has a great sense of battle, but it will be more efficient for him to become a wizard with much magnificent battle sense. Rain concludes that maybe he doesn't have any talent on that area too. Rain Dranir gets upset because she can't find anyone worthy of joining them, and they don't even have the time to recruit them any longer. At that moment, Rain Dranir notices a man entering the arena. She notices a tattoo on his neck, which implies that he is a person of the purification cult. Rain Dranir gets angry and says, "What are these bastards doing here?" The purification cult, a minority group that worships the evil sealed in the Black Forest that Rain is trying to subdue. It is a religion that spreads like a disease in the northern part of the empire, including the city of Ruin. Rain thinks that her troops had already filtered twice. But how is this happening? The person who is from the purification cult says that 6-headed beast shall arrive, and their duty is to make way until it arrives and purge these ignorant non-believers. The people in this area shall now meet their demise. The person's belly gets bigger to the point of explosion. Rain Drainer quickly kills the monster and handles the situation. Rain thinks she stopped them for now, but she notices another person who was at the point of destruction. She shouts to stop them, and a minor area blast occurs, and the black aura of the Black Star fall. Ragno and Lian thinks that Rain stopped the person from doing further damage. Ragno asks Rain how did she did that and when did she secretly learn something. The yellow guys compliments her, saying it was amazing. Rain intervenes, saying she was not the one who did that, and asks if they really didn't notice what happened. Some time ago, Rain noticed that Zeon Harness was the one who released an attack at the monster and minimized the damage. At the present, the prince thinks that, as he remembered everything in the chronicles of the hero of Frosimar, it was easy for him to predict and change the occurring events and was able to stop the terrorist attack. But merely outperforming other mercenaries isn't enough to capture Rain Dranir's attention. As fortunately, the terrorist attack occurred without any errors, and he simply took care of it. As a result, the prince was able to capture Rain Dranir's attention and was accepted at the subjugation meeting. At the meeting, Rain Dranir announces that everybody present in this meeting will take part in the subjugation. A person selected in the meeting from the mercenary recruitment thinks that besides the elites of the north, 2 of them were selected from the mercenary recruitment, including her and the woman sitting next to her. Rain announces that she would now explain the summarized plan of the subjugation. Rain Dranir explains that a peculiar forest exists between Ruin City and the Salios Mountains, a forest where everything including the trees and grass is stained black. People call this the Black Forest, and those who entered never came out, so it's prohibited to enter and is managed by the city. One of the woman from the mercenary recruitment questions Rain, saying that she knows about the Black Forest, but she wants to the thing they are going to subjugate, and why. Rain answers with only one word: evil. Rain illustrates her answer that they might have heard legends about her family's founder. A legend about a hero who was covered in the blood of a dragon and gained the power of a dragon, destroying evil and founded ruin, city over it, which is pretty famous in the north. She explains further that, actually, the evil didn't perish back then. It was so strong that our founder could only seal it away. As such, Ruin has been paying the price for that with Zeon intervenes, saying that Ruin has been paying the price for that with the Purification Festival. Rain Dranir answers that Zeon words are right and to be exact, the purification ritual that takes place at the end of the Purification Festival is the price. One of the elites asks Rain that by the Purification Festival is she referring to the ritual where convicts are sent to the Black Forest. Rain replies that yes, and they are sent there as sacrifices to maintain the seal. Ragno says that if there is a need for them to do subjugation, as the sacrifices are all criminals who are destined to die anyways. Raindrenir explains that the sacrifices are happening 5 person per month, and if this continues like this, there would not be enough convicts for sacrifices. Then, the people with minor crimes, and even some poor innocent one, will be the one for sacrifices, because the quota has to met at all cost. Rain suddenly remembers a day in her past where he witnessed 2 person dragging an innocent person, and she says she would never sacrifice her people to some unknown evil entity. Ragno claps and says that that's a good reason for doing the subjugation. Raindrainer says that she doesn't know every details of this evil entity, but one thing is sure, that this entity's power has been decreasing for the long-lasting seal. Because of a unique magical barrier, only a handful of people can enter the Black Forest. Raindrenir says that the people here are the strongest ones she could gather for the subjugation. One of the members says that she understands Miss Rain, but she asks for reason of including Zion in this subjugation. Ragno says that he also wants to know the reason of including Zeon on this meeting. Zion thinks that this meeting is of high value because of the presence of 7 elites of the North, meeting of the elites who are called the Skies of the next generation. With just their name alone, a huge support force can be formed, and 5 among those 7 elites have gathered here. Raindranir replies that she had a gut feeling that they will need him. Ragno implies that Rain might be drunk to make such a rash decision. The prince conceives that Raindrainer still suspects him even though she noticed Zeon's power. The fact that Rain didn't say anything specific to back up Zeon means that she is even suspicious of the other people who are present in this room. Zeon perceives that Rain is right because a man without an identity came inside the palace. It cannot happen unless they have a backing from the inside. Zeon thinks in his mind that he knows who the betrayer is, but he won't tell anybody anything now because all this events occurs to help Rain to grow. Rain announces that she would now start the discussion of planning the routes, so she tells everybody to listen carefully. The day passes and the night arrives. At the night, Zeon releases his black aura and is training his power the Black Star Fall to increase his potency. Zeon sees that he can't control his power freely. The Black Star Fall is at better condition than the first time he woke up in this body, but he still can't be sure if he can beat any of the 7 elites with this level of power. The prince concludes that his future opponents will be even more powerful compared to the 7 elites, and the time will not stop for him. He needs to make the Black Star Fall level 2 as soon as possible. Zeon turns around and sees a mysterious girl wearing a white dress coming towards to him. The girl asks Zeon how is he doing that. You are already released? Zeon questions the woman. The girl gets shocked because she didn't accept Zeon to know anything about her. The girl walks up to Zeon and warns him not to go to the forest as he would be doomed if he enters the forest. After giving that warning, the girl vanishes into thin air. Zeon smiles, saying that the situation just got more interesting. He wonders if his actions influence the story or not, but to him, it really doesn't matter. Zeon walks away and gets near a tree and tells the spy to come out. The spy gets out and says to Zeon how does Zeon even knows that he is here. Zeon neglects the spy's question and asks for the thing he ordered. The spy brings out a pouch and says that inside it there is the highest class spell storage he ordered. The spy added that it was very hard for him to get this on such a short notice and asks the prince what he will do with it. The prince utters a single word, surrender, for the spy's question. The spy wonders what the prince meant by the word surrender and how he should report such a weird incident to the office. At night, they all are entering the forest. The prince perceives that it's really black in the forest. The dirt on the floor, the trees, the grass growing from it, and even the stones rolling around as if it's absorbing all the lights and making it dark. One of the elites says that how come this place isn't known to people? Something as serious as this should be raided by the Empire and not the city. One of the members taunts him for saying that and implies that he is coward. The young prince conceives that Reincarnated didn't even give a proper explanation to the other members, but the members are still trusting her. Except Kayla, as she is a person newly recruited from the mercenary recruitment. Reincarnated declares that they head in right away. Rain notices that the evil energy has gotten stronger. She thinks that she doesn't know what's going on, but one thing is for sure that they doesn't have time to linger. Leon asks Rain whether they are going in straight as they have planned before. Rain answers, yes, they are going in, but before that, she has something to do. She brings out her spear from which lightning sparks. Rain says that as they are here, they at least need to knock the ground first. Lightning strikes as Reincarnated strike the ground and makes a huge crack in the ground. They all see that the road ahead was a trap. Reincarnated turns around and says that she would go first and follows the other road inside the forest. Ragno and the other follows Rain. As they are running towards the forest, the furious fox-like beast appears in front of them. They are known as the evil beasts who show up in this specific forest. The beasts charges towards Rain. Reincarnated notices that she would not be able to dodge their attack because of being this close. Ragno, who is beside Rain, says to her, not be in front, if she couldn't handle the consequences. We witness a flame in Rango's right arm. He punches the fox with his flame arm. Ragno stands in front of Rain and declares that this forest is now his territory, while we notice falms from all over his body. On the next scene, other beasts appears. One of the elites, whose name is Heart, takes care of it using his dagger. He swiftly pierces the two beasts. After fighting for a moment, they all notice that they are being surrounded by the evil beasts. Kayla, one of the people from mercenary recruitment, alerts everybody to stand clear if they don't want to get burned. She creates 2 blue flame using mana in her hands and spreads the flame all over the place. Most of the beasts gets incinerated. One of the members uses a spear to slash a beast and says to Kayla to stand behind him. Zeon perceives that everything is going as he predicted. All the movements of the elites were in sync because they are childhood friends. Zeon looks up in the leaves of the trees. He senses a bat coming towards him. The bat passes the lady and Zeon and tries to fly away. The prince uses his dark aura and kills the bat using his dark energy from a far distance. Kayla speaks up to Zeon. She demands to know the identity of the prince and how did he kill the bat from that far of a distance with just lifting his hand. Kayla tries to ask again, but suddenly they hear a roar of a beast. They witness an enormous bear. Rain announces everybody to go back to their formation. Zeon thinks that the main event has begun and the forest starts to change its form. Ragno shouts saying that everybody should not panic and stick together as close as possible. The beast who is in middle of them tries to strike Rain and Rango and pushes them back. Heart and Zeon get separated from the rest of the team, and trees covers the area between them. Zeon thinks that the things are going just as he planned. and it will be good for him to act now as the rest of the team got far apart and he couldn't feel their presence. Zeon would now take care of something before going to the sealing ground. Hart gets irritated and says that this is a bad situation for him. Zeon questions Hart why it will be bad. Is it because he can't be able to kill Reindranier? Zeon's question makes Hart shake and turns his first pale. Hart turns around and say to Zeon what he meant by it. Zeon replies that he exactly knows what Zeon is talking about. Ragno worries about Hart and wonders why does the person who went with Hart was Zeon, as Ragno still couldn't trust Zeon completely. Ragno asks Rain what she is planning to do about it. Are they going to find them? Ragno questions. Rain answers no, they would not look for Hart, and they would head deeper inside the forest. Rain thinks if the person who got separated with Hart is Zeon. That must mean Hart is save, as Zeon power is the polar opposite of evil. Rain perceives. Rain agrees. In her mind, that she has been suspicious of her surroundings, even since the Purification cult's terrorist attack. She conceives that there is no traitor among the members she selected. Leon, who knows, reigns since when she was only 3 years old, and he is like a family to her. The others, Ragno, Hart, Kayla, are all Rain's friends since she was young. They all are like ride or die friends, according to Reindranier, and that should be case Rain concludes. On the other land, Zeon explains to Hart that as one of the rising stars, representing the northern region of the Empire, and the second son of the Sidmail family, a lord family that dominates the northern region. Like the Dranier family, that were the words of embellishments for Hart, one of the 7 elites. But there was another one. He was one of the main executives of the Purification cult, serving the evil of the Black Forest. Hart, after listening to Zeon, goes to say that how did he know, but stops and says that this doesn't matter. Who else knows about his true identity? He questions. Zeon replies that he only knows about it for now. Hart, who seems relieved now, says to Zeon that he is a fool for taking action alone and questions Zeon that he would like to know how Zeon will kill him. Hart looks at Zeon with a killing intent and questions that whether Zeon is thinking of escaping from him. Hart explains his plan to Zeon before trying to kill him. He clarifies that the one they are serving was not originally called evil, but just because these foolish humans in power couldn't grasp this strength, they defined her as evil and threw her into this forest. Hart adds that they've been waiting for the day the evil entity breaks the seal herself and purges this world. He explains further that as one of the Purification cult's members, their duty is to trample and kill any bugs getting in her way. After saying all that, Hart confidently charges towards Zeon. Hart thinks that the attack he is using now is a quick sword. It's so fast that it cannot be seen by an opponent like Zeon's caliber. He thinks that the moment his silver flash appears, the opponent's head would fall off, and the battle would end. His attack was perfect, but how did his right hand get cut off by Zeon, he wonders. Hart seems confused about what just happened now in mere seconds. Zeon explains that he did 2 mistakes. The first one is that Hart thought that Zeon was weaker than him, and secondly, he didn't give his all in his first strike, totally underestimating his opponent. Zeon says this while releasing the aura of the Black Star Fall. Hart gets extremely furious and shouts at him, saying him bastard. Hart then again tries to attack Zeon and thinks that this time his attack will work, as his attack consists of a slash said to cut down the moon, a technique that only the successor of the Sidmail family can use. He was pretty confident that with this, he would win. Zeon speaks that he made one more mistake. Zeon uses his Black Star Fall and outdoes all the slashes of his opponents. In a blink of an eye, Zeon appears right in front of Hart and says to him that he should have run away when he got the time. Hart says that Zeon got him for good, but he can't meddle in his plan because there is still. Zeon intervenes and says that B knows there is still one more person with him among the party members. Hart gets shocked and asks how. Zeon kills Hart as he has to move quickly. He walks while thinking that Rain's party might have moved to the center by now. Zeon comes across a tablet. He introduces it as Evil Spirit Divine Tablet. This tablet was used to seal the evil. Zeon gets confused as he has no idea why this tablet is in this place and not in the center of the forest. Zeon tries to walk away without any further delay, but suddenly the remaining senile spirits who were sealed inside the tombstone attacks Zeon. Zeon runs forward and makes a black aura and attacks the spirits. It was like a small air rainfall as the spirit got exploded. According to the novel, this tombstone will be used by the hero's party to subdue and seal the evil in the near future. Zeon thinks if he could use this top-notch sealing magic in this tombstone, it would be beneficial for him. In the next scene, Zeon feels a strange atmosphere and wonders whether the event has started. On the other hand, Ragno asks to Rain how much further they need to go and wonders whether Hart is still alive. Kayla says Ragno to use his hands to clear the path in front of them instead of his mouth. Rain says that they just need to go a bit further to reach their final destination. One of the members alerts them that they should not go any further than this or else they are doomed. All of a sudden, they witness some spirit combining together. We witness the same girl whom Zeon encountered moments ago. The girl says to everybody that they are late. Rain Draenir recognizes her as the evil spirit. The girl says to Rain that why is she called evil even though she did what she just wanted and walks towards them. Rain alerts everybody to stand clear. Ragno questions Rain that is this girl really the sealed evil entity. Rain replies, saying yes, and the girl can't use her full power because of the sealing. Rain Draenir tries to alert everybody again, but he hears a sound of someone falling down. She looks back and witnesses Ragno's dead, and everybody in her team was whipped, except Kayla, and one of the mercenary recruitment by Lian. In mere moments. Kayla shouts to Lian that how can he kill his own team member? Rain gets extremely shocked by Lian's actions and can't keep herself standing on the ground. Lian walks up to the girl, praising her as the mother of all beast. Lian reveals the tattoo of the purification cult in his body and introduces him as the evil entity's child. Rain's face turns pale as she gets to know that her childhood friend was one of the members of the purification cult. Lian says to the girl that he killed all those people who went against her and also offer Rain Draenir to her because the Draenir was the one who sealed her. So, he says that he bought a descendant of Draenir as a present. Lian bows his heed and requests the girl to take his offerings. The evil entity walks up to Lian and says that she doesn't like the gift and questions Lian why did he kill her prey as he pleased. Lian gets confused. On the next moment, she cuts Lian's head by saying that she never a child like him and gives his corpse a death glare. The mercenary girl finds Zeon and says that they must run away as everybody on their team was killed by Lian. Zeon perceives that this girl might have run away. The girl explains that the enemy they are facing are out of their league and they don't have much time, so they must run away. Zeon smiles, saying that this is actually better for him, as he hoped that the evil entity would be stronger. Zeon remembers the story of that evil girl and starts to reminisce the story. He shares that it was from the moment she was born and began to perceive the world. The desire to kill something arose within that woman until a fortune-teller told her that she was fated to slaughter the heavens. Zeon introduces that word, fate. A path determined for a being from the moment it is born into the world. The woman accepted that fate. There was no sense of refusal whatsoever. No, there was no need for that. Why would she turn away from something that gave her such joy? Zeon concludes. Even if that fate turned her into an enemy of the world and led to her sealing, she didn't regret it. Because the more they gathered together, the more lives she could kill, Zeon explains. The evil girl to Rain that she is quite weak for a descendant of the Draenir family. The girl says that after killing Rain, she is going to destroy the ruined city. She adds that she was sealed for many years, and now she is starving, and one city might not be enough. Rain brings out her lighting spear and attacks the girl, piercing her body from the middle. Rain says to the girl how many sacrifices should be made until she is satisfied. The evil girl says that now Rain is acting like one of the Draenir family. The girl says that now she likes Rain because she is resisting and has a desperate look on her face. The girl throws her foxes at Rain from the hole in her heart, which was made by Rain's spear. Rain thinks that she would die if the evil girl's attack hit her, thus Rain dodges her attack. Rain uses her lightning spear to attack the foxes, but she notices that her spear, which was made of black iron, was torn apart by the foxes. The girl releases her foxes and Rain jumps upward and starts to accumulate her lighting. Rain thinks that she must end this with a single strike, as the evil entity's powers are sealed, and before she loses more strength, she must end it right here. So, Rain makes the huge lighting strike hit the girl. As Rain used most of her, she can't keep up her posture and falls to the ground and coughs blood. Rain thinks that the girl might not be able to handle and must be in a weak condition now because of her seal. But suddenly Rain hears a voice from her back, which startles her. The girl predicts that Rain might be thinking that this is her last chance to kill the girl, and she must muster all her strength to kill the girl. The evil girl asks Rain if she is right in her prediction. But the girl answers that she is wrong because the seal was lifted a long time ago, and she was only testing the waters instead of acting on a whim. The girl concludes that Rain Draenir was completely doomed from the beginning of this battle. Rain conceives that this entity cannot be defeated by humans. The girl releases her huge snakes at Rain. How can a monster like her get sealed? Rain wonders. Rain loses all hope of survival and remembers her father in her mind. Suddenly, he witnesses a dark energy, and she faints. On the next scene, Xion thinks that the shock Rain received from this incident will be enough to awaken her full potential. The girl reminds Xion that she told him not to come to Forest unless he wants to die. Xion calls the girl by her name, which is Liushina Bloodwalker. Liushina says that she is quite surprised to know that Xion knows her name. She says that if Xion knows her name, he might also know the other names that people gave Liushina. Xion remembers that Liushina is an entity that has killed the most humans in the world, Queen of Evil. One-man army, mother of beasts. She has been called by many names, but she had one representative alias, the Witch of Heavenly Slaughter. The witch says Xion is stupid for not listening to her warning. Xion says that why would he listen to her? Liushina replies that she would kill Xion otherwise. Xion says to Liushina that he doesn't have any plans of dying here, but he has one particular desire. Xion says that from today onwards, Liushina would serve him. Xion explains that he was considering Liushina Bloodwalker as his subordinate from the beginning. He also thought of Rain Draenir as a subordinate, but Rain Draenir is an entity who will be a comrade in the hero's party. Liushina says to Xion if he wants her as an ally, he have to make her submit to him. Liushina tries to attack Xion, but Xion throws a stone which he got moments ago. The stone opens up a new dimension known as Grand Soul Annihilation Circle. Xion explains that this is a great magic spell that hero of Draenir family used to seal the Witch of the Heavenly Slaughter in the past. It's a supernatural technique that extracts only the soul of the caster and the target and isolates them in another world. Xion explains the thing he did in the past. He says that he transferred the magic dwelling in the tombstone to the spell storage stone he received from the spy of Eye of the Moon. It was so difficult to cast the spell that he only brought the essentials parts, and according to Xion, it should be enough. Liushina says that she was aware about every moves Xion took from the very beginning, because she doesn't only dwells on this forest, she is the Black Forest herself. She let Xion to do everything he wants, because she knew that Xion's actions were all useless. Liushina explains her conclusion that the Grand Soul Annihilation Circle isn't a sealing spell to begin with. It's a magic that destroys the target's soul while using the carder's soul as a collateral, which means that it's useless if the carder's soul is weaker than the target's. Liushina conveys that this was the reason why, in the past, the hero of Draenir was also incompetent to seal her completely. She concludes that centuries had passed since that sealing, and her story has now become even stronger. Liushina questions whether Xion's soul can overpower hers. Xion says that he isn't quite sure and accumulates the black star in his hand, while saying that he is putting that into test now. Xion thinks that he has always been curious about something. He wonders whether the soul trapped in this body of Xion Agnes is the soul of his original body, the emperor who reigned over the world, or the soul of the incompetent prince who merely inherited the emperor's memories. He wonders whether the emperor's soul truly lost its existence. He concludes that the Grand Soul Annihilation Circle is a place where only the soul's exits, not the physical body, and he must now be able to know the answer of his questions inside this circle. Liushina taunts Xion, saying what test he is blabbering about. Liushina say that how can Xion test the powers of the Witch of the Heavenly Slaughter with a power of his which was barely above the elites? Liushina adds that she was not planning to kill Xion for the time being because of his interesting powers, but now Xion was successful to upset her. Liushina says that she would kill Xion, and while she is at it, she would also get rid of this Grand Soul Annihilation Circle. Liushina smirks and questions Xion. How many does he have, because she has plenty? She transforms her right hand and releases an attack known as Sangria Requiem. As the snake was going to engulf Xion, it completely disappears, and Liushina gets astonished as she watches that her right arm also entirely disappeared. Liushina thinks that, how can this be happening? Xion didn't even lift any of his fingers. Xion says to Liushina that her stomach will explode if he tries to swallow him. Xion conceives that since he is inside the circle, he can feel the power of Black Star fall stretching out. He feels a sense that expands endlessly and becomes finer, creating hundreds of ways to eliminate the enemy in front of him. It was definitely the power of the Black Star Emperor who ruled over the world in the past. Liushina gets furious and restores her arm while asking Xion, how did he do that? Xion replies that she must know the answer herself. Xion's answer angers Liushina even more. Liushina screams at Xion while Xion lifts his hand to trap her. Liushina feels that she can't move her body. In mere seconds, Xion appears in front of Liushina and smashes her head into pieces. Liushina regenerates her head. She becomes furious and calls Xion a bastard. Xion destroys Liushina's body again and again. Liushina gets scared to death because no matter how far she runs away, her body is getting destroyed endlessly. Liushina had never experienced anything like this since reaching the highest realm, the pinnacle of blood magic. Liushina wonders how she ended in a situation like this. She gets terrified as she feels that she might actually die today. She then realizes that there is no might, or maybe she is actually going to die. Xion again starts to use his power of Black Star Fall and kills Liushina every time she recovers. Liushina begs Xion to stop. Xion questions Liushina what she meant by the word stop, because she has many lives. Xion explains that the attack Sangria Requiem is one of the unique magic spells of the Witch of the Heavenly Slaughter that takes a part of the life of a killed opponent as her own. Liushina gets horrified as Xion is killing her endlessly. Xion thinks that an oath or contact engraved in the soul has never been broken, as normally it's really difficult to manipulate one's soul directly. But Xion concludes that this place is a dimension where only the soul exists, and this is where he would teach Liushina how to be obedient to her master together with absolute fear. Xion says that for now, he would reduce half of Liushina's life source. Much time has passed since this incident. Xion was able to engrave obedience to Liushina, but it still needed some work. The Grand Soul Annihilation Circle was destroyed, because it was unable to withstand the power of the Black Starfall. According to the novel, Liucina would be awakened as the Witch of Demise and will become a huge hindrance to the hero's party. But now that Zeon has intervened in this matter, he says he wouldn't let that happen. Liucina has a desperate look on her face. She realizes that she was utterly defeated, and she can feel the seal of submission engraved into her soul. She wonders where Zeon came from, as she never witnesses such power until now. Liucina stands up and says to Zeon to not let his guard down from now on, because one day she would release this seal imprint on her soul and will rip Zeon's head apart. Zeon answers that she can try her luck any time and orders her to call him master from now on, and Liucina agrees to that. Liucina stops and says that she has one last question. Zeon permits her to ask. Liucina explains that from the moment she was born, she liked killing things. She says that it's not a hobby, but her fate, which is the reason for her still being alive. Liucina adds that the stronger her prey are, and the more they are in numbers, the more joy she feels. She asks that if she follows Zeon, how many lives she would be able to kill. Zeon answers, while smiling, that the quantity will be more than enough to satisfy her. At the ruined palace, Rain's father asks Rain how long will she stay like this. Her father reminiscent that 3 days have passed since Rain was discovered alone, unconscious in the Black Forest. There were only clues and traces of a fierce battle in that place, but not a member from the party was seen. He understands that this is not the right time for him to ask Rain about the incident earlier. He says to Rain to at least eat something for her sake and leaves the room. Rain releases that it's all her fault, all that happened because she was weak and couldn't do anything. Rain blames herself for everyone's death. Rain says that the people she lost were all who had been with her for decades and who were like family to her. Rain realizes that everyone died not because of Leon's betrayal or the small number of the subjugation unit, but it all happened all because of her being this weak. She clenches her teeth as she feels frustrated and says she must get stronger, whatever it takes. Rain feels that Liucina isn't dead yet. She says that someday she will rip this witch into pieces by her own hand. She remembers that the man who came to save her was definitely Zeon Harness. She says that there is a high chance that Zeon was also killed by the witch, but maybe there is a slim chance that he survived. Rain wonders if Zeon survives, then maybe she will be able to meet him again. At the Information Guild, named the Eye of the Moon, the waiter, who happens to be a messenger, gives a report to the branch manager named Aileen. The report includes that the Black Forest completely disappeared, along with the dark energy which was spread all the over forest was entirely washed off. Aileen questions the messenger to confirm whether the witch inside the Black Forest is also dead or not. The messenger answers that his informants couldn't go inside, so they are not sure enough to draw any conclusions, but by seeing that the evil energy inside the forest is gone, maybe the witch is dead. The messenger concludes. Aileen wonders how such a strong figure, known for decades as the Witch of the Heavenly Slaughter, disappeared. She feels that she cannot take this matter lightly. The branch manager says that perhaps the royal blood of the Agnes who came to visit her that day maybe was the reason for the witch's disappearance. She wonders how strong a person might be able to kill the Witch of the Heavenly Slaughter. She conceives that it should only be possible for that royal blood to kill the witch if he is the direct descendant of the Agnes family, because each of them is a freaking monster with unimaginable potential. She concludes that, in order to find the reason how and why he killed the witch, she first needs to find out who he is. The informant says that he found out through investigation that the person in this picture is none other, the Prince Zeon Agnes, who is also called the Imprisoned Prince. At the Pointer Palace, Imperial Wizard Troop Captain of the 4th Division of the Icarus Fernando Pringham says to Fredo that he would only leave this palace after seeing the prince with his own eyes. He adds that he needs the prince's signature for the succession ceremony. Fredo thinks that it's been almost a week, and there is no news about the prince's whereabouts. He worries for the prince's safe arrival. The captain reminds Fredo that today is the last chance for the prince to participate in the succession ceremony. He adds that if the prince doesn't sign this paper by the end of today, he will be disqualified in the succession ceremony. The captain conceives that he has been coming here for 3 days in order to get Prince Zeon's signature, but the knights always make excuses that the prince isn't feeling well, or the prince is very busy in his basement for his training. The captain concludes that Prince Zeon is not at the Pointer Palace, and to be exact, maybe he is not even at the Royal Palace. The captain, whose name is Fernando, thinks that a royal blood who hasn't gone through a succession ceremony isn't allowed to roam around freely in the outskirts of the streets, and if Fernando can prove this thing, he will be doing the third prince a great favor. Fernando asks Fredo, "Where is the prince right now?" Fredo answers that the prince isn't feeling well, so he is resting in his bedroom. Fernando pushes Fredo and runs towards the prince's chamber. Fredo shouts him to stop. Fernando smiles while running in the stairs as he thinks that today is the end for Zeon Agnes. Fredo worries that the prince isn't in his room. Fernando goes near the prince's room and shouts that, "Your Highness, he knows that this is rude of him, but the matter is urgent," and he opens the door. The prince was sitting in his room and he says to Fernando that if he knows it was rude of him, he shouldn't have done this. The captain asks for the prince's forgiveness. Fernando gets quite terrified as he thinks that everything he heard from others about Zeon Agnes were completely false because of the aura and pressure the prince is emitting is not of the imprisoned prince he knows and heard about. The prince moves his hand forward asking for the paper to give his signature. Fernando walks near the prince and gives him the paper. The prince reminds Fernando that he doesn't like anyone who touches his stuff while signing the paper. Zeon warns Fernando to be extra careful about his behavior towards the prince. After the captain's departure, Fredo asks the prince where he was for almost a week as people were looking for him for several days. Zeon thinks that it was quite close, as he almost couldn't make it in time for the succession ceremony. He thinks that Liushina must have also arrived at the capital, and by the time she finishes the order the prince gave her, the prince would have already finished the succession ceremony. The prince asks Fredo that the thing which he ordered is ready or not. Fredo questions whether the prince is referring to the 1,000-year-old ogre's heart, which was given by Princess Evelyn. Fredo says that of course the thing is ready as per his order. Zeon says that he has to completely absorb the power of the 1,000-year-old ogre's heart, and it was worth waiting for it to be completely processed. By absorbing the power of the heart, the prince will decrease the penalty he will have on his body, and he says that before the succession ceremony, he has to reach the 2-star mastery of the Black Star Fall. At the knights' hideout, these knights, who are the real assassins attacking the Pointer Palace, are working under the third prince. The assassin says that the third prince is really angry as they have failed twice to kill Prince Zeon, according to the report they received from their fellow assassin, which said that the Pointer Palace has a strong figure who have been backing Prince Zeon. One of the assassins says that the prince is as good as abandoned, but why there is a powerful figure protecting the prince, he wonders. The main assassin, who happens to be the knight at the Pointer Palace, tells everybody to stop further discussions and says that they should focus on the present orders they got from the third prince. He thinks that this would be their last chance to finish their order. The assassin in charge tells everybody to pull themselves together. The bald assassin asks how much time is left for the succession ceremony to take place in the royal palace. The main assassin says that it will happen today, and just like always, they would receive the information about the route and complete the given order. Suddenly, the assassin in charge hears a voice saying, "Who is the one providing them the route?" By hearing the voice, the assassin quickly swings his sword. The unknown voice they heard was Liushina's. Liushina praises the assassin for having quick judgment, but she says, it still isn't good enough. All of the assassins positions themselves to kill her. They asks for Liushina's identity. Liushina answers that it would not matter whether they got to know her name or not, because everybody in this room will die today. All 4 of the assassins charges at her. Lisuhina smiles while thinking that if she gets orders for killing people like this, she would gladly accept it. Liushina uses her snake to kill one of the assassin. The other assassin jumps over the snake and tries to attack her. Liushina uses her other hand and slashes the assassin's throat. 2 of the assassins blocks her with their knife, and the main assassin cuts her head off, while regarding Liushina as a monster. The assassin in charge tells the other to take care of the body, but suddenly he hears Liushina's voice again, even though her head was still on the floor. Liushina restores her head, and by seeing Hat, all the assassins get horrified. Liushina says that they didn't even seen the real monster yet, but today she would show them what a real monster looks like. She releases around 7 snakes at the assassins. The assassins gets all terrified upon witnessing their death in form of them. Lastly, Liushina finishes her job happily as she got a wonderful meal today. The succession ceremony, the qualification test that the direct descendants of the royal family take to become the emperor. The ceremony happens when the direct royal blood reaches the legal age. But not all have to take the succession ceremony mandatorily. Even the non-direct royal blood scattered around the empire can have the succession ceremony. They can't inherit the throne, even if they pass, but the reason why they still take the test is simple. The only way for the branched royal blood to enter the royal palace is by passing the succession ceremony. At the royal palace, where the succession ceremony is going to take place, one of the candidates says that she didn't accept Vale Ilones to set foot in the royal palace. He replied that he also didn't accept her, Lynette Ilones, to attend the ceremony. Lynette says while smiling that she couldn't miss this opportunity. She says that she thought the succession ceremony wouldn't be happening for a while. Vale Ilones replies that he was quite surprised too. He says that he heard the imprisoned prince will also have a succession ceremony this time. Vale adds that the prince is the worst pure blood in the history of Ainge's empire, the most incapable and the shame of the royal Ainge's family. Vale says that if the rumor are true, there is no reason for a weak prince like him to take part in the succession ceremony. Lynette says that Prince Xion has a reason to participate as he is from the Agnes family, but it's better for him not to take part in this ceremony. Lynette thinks that with Xion's meager skills, he could even die in the middle of the succession ceremony test. He doesn't have the qualifications that an emperor should have, the charisma that can lead the people, the judgment of being able to differentiate truth from lies, the tolerance of being able to embrace the whole world, and the most important thing that the Agnes royal family prioritize, overwhelming strength. Lynette says that such tradition has been continued since the first emperor. Thus, the succession ceremony test, which is required to become an emperor, also prioritizes strength, and if you aren't qualified enough, it can lead to death. But there is no history of someone's death in the royal palace till now, and Lynette wonders what the young prince is thinking. Vale says the prince will not be safe even if he hides like a rat in the den, but he wonders why Xion is drawing everyone's attention now. The other candidates notices that everyone is here except Xion. They assume that Prince Xion is scared now, and maybe he is converted, in fear under his blanket in his bed. They thinks that this would be the first time the ceremony will occur without the direct descendant, as Xion is the only direct descendant of the Agnes family. They laughs while thinking that it's better for them. The person in charge of handling the ceremony announces that the ceremony will start as Prince Xion is not here, and in a second, an announcement is made that Prince Xion Agnes has arrived. The door opens, and the prince steps in. Lynette gets surprised as she was seeing a totally different person she heard from the rumors. She sees that the prince looks very different and dangerous, and the aura he is emitting is truly like a ruler. He wonders, is this really the same guy who was regarded as the weak imprisoned prince and often said as the shame of the royal blood? Prince Xian walks inside the room and says to start the ceremony. The person in charge for taking the test announces that Prince Xian is here, and now he will explain the rules about the succession ceremony, and it will commence here in the place of qualification. Prince Xian was almost late for the ceremony as he was enhancing the potency of the Black Star Fall to reach level 2. Now, his body will be able to withstand its power, as he was finally able to reach level 2 after absorbing the 1,000-years-old ogre's heart. Prince Xian came prepared because the Book of the Hero of Frosimar didn't mention any information about the succession ceremony, because the original story begins with the death of Xian Agnes, so the ceremony never happened. Prince Xian thinks that all the people will feel contempt and surprise as they are thinking that Prince Xian will not be able to succeed in this ceremony. Prince Xian thinks that his recent actions might not be enough to change this people's heart and how they view him. The person in charge announces that only the top 3 people who will arrive at the top of the floor will be passing the ceremony, and the test of each floor will be overlooked by the supervisors. Lastly, he wishes good luck to everyone. Prince Xian says that he knew that the rules will be like this. It's just as he expected. The examiner says that he met Prince Xian a few months ago. He remembers that Prince Xian's had those eyes which weakly stare at the floor, and a body that would break with a slight push. His sword and magic skills were all terrible, and he was clearly the shame of the royal blood, according to the examiner. But presently the examiner says that he felt the naturally flowing scent of a conqueror that was coming out of the prince's whole body and the silent stare that looks down on everything. The examiner noticed that Prince Xian also has a slightly trained body now. He wonders what really happened to Prince Xian this last month to change him this much. He says that this won't change anything because this succession ceremony is a huge trap. A trap that the young prince can't ever escape from nor go through. He concludes that it's not just a few people who want Prince Xian dead. Prince Xian will eventually die in this ceremony, no matter what. At the test, everybody starts running towards the stairs reach floor 1 first. On the other hand, Lynette notices that Prince Xian is not in a hurry and taking another route. Vale asks Lynette whether she is going with him or not, because he is going in either ways. Lynette answers that she would go with him and follows him. Prince Xian walks up the stairs while thinking that each floor will be testing the qualifications to become an emperor. He reaches a dark place, a floor of flesh-eating bugs. Prince Xian thinks that this is a little hard for the first test, and he is sure that the supervisors have left some clues for completing this floor in a simpler way, but he would not pick the easy route because the Black Star has already reached level 2. Xian says that Black Star reaching level 2 is not an easy feat. Black Star level 1 is one world, and being able to reach level 2 is like opening a new world. He unlocked a new power, the Dark Ocean. This power denies all existence. He says that he just have to extinguish each and everything. Prince Xian wonders what faces the supervisors are making right now. He walks up another stairs inside the floor and witnesses a huge maze in front of him. Is this the starting point, he wonders? And suddenly, a Death Knight swing his sword at the prince. The Death Knight attacks Prince Xian without stopping. Prince Xian uses dark vision and finds out the core of this Death Knight. As the knight charges towards the prince uses his new power and completely annihilates the knight. Only cracks of slashes were left on the floor. Upon defeating the knight, this time 4 of the knights appear all together. Prince Xian laughs and says that the supervisors are being too obvious while trying to kill the prince. Prince Xian expected this kind of situation, but he didn't know that the supervisors would go this far. Xian conceives that the supervisors are intentionally showing that they don't have any plans to spare the lives of the participants, but to know the truth, they are planning to kill Xian. Prince Xian thinks that there is no way a test that requires a bare minimum in air would be this hard. Prince Xian perceives that they are using Death Knight to kill him because they don't want any witness. Xian says that this would be fun because now he doesn't have to abide by the rules either. 3 of the knights moves forward to attack Xian. The knight swings his sword at Xian, and Xian dodges it by moving his legs slightly left. On the other hand, at the maze, Lynette is extremely exhausted as tens of thousands of flesh-eating bugs rushed at them as soon as they entered. Lynette says that this definitely not a level for a succession ceremony. She survived until now because she hid herself with a skill, or otherwise she would have become a corpse at the beginning. Presently, Lynette is being chased by a death knight. She got surprised to see a undead in the middle of the royal, but now she looks terrified as this undeads are stupendously strong. She wonders whether all the succession ceremonies have been like this. This is just like killing the participants, she concludes. Lynette barely managed to escape from the knight, but she witnesses that Prince Xian is completely surrounded by 4 death knights. She watches Prince Xian is not losing at all against the death knights, and to be exact, he is actually winning. Lynette sees that Xian's movement aren't just natural, but beautiful. At that moment, she wonders whether a mere animal of land can touch something like a star by staring at it every day. It is hard even for Lynette to chase Xian's movement with her eyes. Lynette thinks that Prince Xian was hiding his powers until now. Those strengths and skills that Lynette is now witnessing can't be made in just few days. She concludes that everybody, including the royal family, are being fooled by Prince Xian. Lynette wonders why Prince Xian endured all the harassment and insults, even if he had this overwhelming strength. Prince Xian thinks that a simple attack won't work on an undead, and he have to completely destroy it. Prince Xian uses a new power storm. He says that he have to remove the magic that buffs their ability first. Xian charges at the knight and cuts its head while dodging another attack from a knight. As one of the knights was going to attack Xian from above, Prince Xian accumulates the dark energy in his hand and releases it at the knight, completely destroying the knight. Another knight swings his sword at Prince Xian, and Xian releases another dark energy at this knight. 3 of the knights were deflated by Xian in mere seconds, and as for the last one, Xian knows that it's attacking from the back. Lynette shouts at Xian to be careful. But Prince Xian didn't listen to her voice because of other noises and completely annihilates 4 of the knights. Prince Xian says that the supervisors are unlucky as they have lost the Death Knights without going anything from it. He says that the supervisors have to pay for their crimes today, and as they started it, Prince Xian will end it. All the supervisors were watching Prince Xian's power from a crystal. They witness a power they have never seen before. The examiner wonders whether the blood of Agnes finally awaken at Xian's body. The examiner gets furious as his plan failed. He tells the others to notify Prince Xian's current location. He asked again and turns around as there was no answer from the back. He sees that his comrades is already dead, which terrifies him. Prince Xian's right hand was already soaked with blood of the examiner's comrade, and Xian replies, whether the examiner is referring to the guy he just killed. At the 3rd prince's castle, the informant reports that the knights which he put to kill Xian are all dead. He says that excluding the ordinary guest floor, there were no traces of any humans. The informant adds that the weird thing is that there were traces of a fierce battle but no blood. The prince wonders whether the blood tower is involved in this matter. The informant bows his head down and says that they are still looking at the matter. The 3rd prince of the Agnes Empire didn't expect to lose such useful cards like this. The prince says that recently matters regarding Prince Xian are not looking good these days, and if Prince Xian passes the succession ceremony, it will be a nuisance, as things will be changed by his family on his mother's side. The prince thinks if Prince Xian got lucky, or is he hiding something? He gets furious and gives an order to the informant to take care of the matter regarding the succession ceremony. At the qualifications test, the examiner orders his comrades to kill Prince Xian. He thinks that it's better that Prince Xian came here all by himself. Prince Xian announces that assassination attempt of the direct blood and manipulation of the succession ceremony are both punishable by death, and he kills one of the people. The others get shocked, and one of the supervisors swings his knife at Xian, and the prince kills the supervisor. Another supervisor uses fire to attack the prince, and Xian dodges it. The one who attacked the prince feels terrified to face him. The supervisor didn't expect Prince Xian to attack right away, but the supervisor thinks that as soon as Prince Xian touches this field fire, his whole body will burn into ashes. Prince Xian charges straight at the supervisor as the fire didn't affect him in the slightest and kills the supervisor. The examiner gets astounded as he thinks that the power Prince Xian showed against the Death Knights were not the full extent of his powers. The examiner gets on his knees and wonders how they are supposed to even kill a monster like that. He realizes that they can't kill the prince, and it was impossible from the very beginning. Prince Xian walks near the examiner and says to him that they must have a boss who ordered them to do this, but Prince Xian tells him that right now, the boss is not the one whom he should be afraid of. The examiner gets horrified as tears come out of his eyes. He says that he would tell Prince Xian everything about the person who ordered them to kill the him. Xian says that the examiner doesn't have to explain anything as Prince Xian already knows who the main culprit is. Xian cuts the examiner's head off. After killing the examiner, Prince Xian looks back and tells a dead body to stop pretending to be dead. The body transforms into a monster. The monster says that he didn't expect the mere imprisoned prince to harness such powers. Prince Xian noticed that this supervisor is a monster when previously he crushed his heart and a weak evil energy flew out. He perceives that this monster is stronger than the last one he faced at the Pointer Palace. The monster says that upon witnessing a demon inside the royal palace, Prince Xian didn't even flinched, so he knew it all along. The monster was planning to leave quietly, but it changed its mind and says that he has something to ask. Prince Xian replies that the monster doesn't have a say in this matter because Prince Xian will decide its fate. Meanwhile, at the maze, Lynette is running as she lost Prince Xian. She thinks that she would need Prince Xian in order to survive this crazy succession ceremony. The only problem is that she doesn't know where the prince went. Lynette Ilones senses a danger behind her and quickly slashes her knife at it. Vale blocks her attack with his sword and says to Lynette that she should at least check if it's a monster or a person behind her. Lynette seems confused to see Vale alive, and on the other hand, Vale thought that Lynette died on the first floor. Lynette questions whether Vale have seen Prince Xian. Vale answers that he didn't know, but he thinks that Xian died already. Lynette says that Prince Xian is still alive, and in order to survive this weird ceremony, they have to find him. Vale questions Lynette what that she meant by it. Lynette says to Vale that they would need Prince Xian because he is the strongest of them all. Vale asks Lynette what nonsense she is blabbering about. On the other end, the monster screams, calling Xian an insect. This monster is stronger than the low-class monster Xian defeated the other day, but it's much lower than the middle-class monster described in the book of the hero of Frosimar. Prince Xian thinks that this monster's healing power cannot be compared with Liushina's, as it's quite weaker. Prince Xian realizes that if the battle drags on, the people on the outside will certainly notice and will come in a flock, so that's why he has to end it quickly. The monster attacks Prince Xian as it seemed Prince Xian was distracted. The monster says that he would not even leave the prince's body behind today and throws a punch at Xian. After throwing the punch, the monster notices that his attack didn't hit Xian, and Prince Xian vanished in front of him. Prince Xian gets behind the monster and says that previously what the monster said to Xian was Xian's line because he would completely annihilate the monster today. Prince Xian destroys the demon's core. In the next moment, Vale watches Prince Xian defeating the monster and shouts, "How did the monster enter the imperial palace?" Prince Xian notices them and turns around. Both Lynette and Vale flinched and looks down at the ground while thinking that it was a one-sided massacre. Vale wonders how strong Prince Xian might be to have taken care of a monster like this all by himself with such ease. Prince Xian points at Lynette and says that she is second, and then he moves his finger towards Vale and says that he is third. Prince Xian congrats them on passing the ceremony, and as he killed all the supervisors, there is no one left to announce the result, and they were the first 3 people to reach the top floor. Prince Xian walks forward and stops to say that today's incident is a secret, and both the siblings agrees to that. Xian leaves the area. On the next scene, Prince Xian is traveling in a car. Prince Xian changes his black robe into a new dress because of Fredo's stubbornness. Fredo made a huge fuss about it. He said that now he can die happily as he witnesses Prince Xian entering the White Star Palace while he is still alive. The issue of assassination of the royal blood was a big news, so the matters of the demon tribes entering the royal palace was overlooked and neglected. Prince Xian's eyes fall on the bracelet, which is a protective charm given by Priscilla. Priscilla said that their engagement has yet to be cancelled, so it's right of her to give Xian something as a present for passing the succession ceremony. Prince Xian suggests her to give up if it's her attempt to keep staying at the Pointer Palace. On top of that, he says to Evelyn Agnes sitting beside him that she really doesn't have to come. Princess Evelyn questions if something happened at the succession ceremony. Prince Xian answers, no. Evelyn says that she felt a demonic energy coming from the Palace of Qualification. Prince Xian replies that he doesn't have any idea about it. Evelyn says that the White Star Palace is a hell because it's teeming with power-hungry specters ready to climb over each other for authority. Brothers scheme to kill one another and power-hungry brokers weigh the flesh of others among themselves. Princess Evelyn asks Xian whether he could survive at the White Star Palace. Evelyn knows that Xian is now a completely different person, but she still worries for her weak little brother, who always receives her help, and on top of that, she is certain that someone is targeting her brother. Prince Xian replies that he is not going there to merely survive, but he is going to devour it. Prince Xian gets out of the car. Evelyn says that due to inspection, she cannot accompany him any further and says Xian to take care of himself. At the White Star Palace, a person named Ronier greets the young prince and says that he is assigned to serve the prince. Ronier says that he would escort the prince immediately. The more Prince Xian looks at this place, the more familiar it seems to him. Except for the slight color difference, it is very similar to the palace he stayed in when he was the emperor. He wonders, is it because the novel used the real imperial castle as a motif, but he senses something beyond this explanation. Ronier says from this point on, Prince Xian has to go alone. The security knight at the Emperor's chamber announces that Prince Xian is entering at the Emperor's chambers. Prince Xian enters and meets Emperor Urdius Agnes, the sovereign of this enormous empire and the owner of this world. Prince Xian observes that the Emperor has a shabby appearance compared to his grandiose titles. He remembers that there is about 2 months left for the Emperor to die. The Emperor opens his eyes and asks Xian who he is. Liushina arrives at the White Star Palace as per Xian's orders. Liushina thinks that the assurance Xian gave her was certainly not a lie, but it's not to the point that satisfies her. Liushina says that she has killed many people recently and hopes that it will only get better. The security knight blocks Liushina and asks her to confirm her id or to show a permit for entering the palace. Liushina says that she doesn't have any of those. The knight replies that Liushina will not be permitted to enter the palace then. Liushina says that her master ordered her to enter the imperial city. The knight asks for her master's name. Liushina forgot her master's name, but she showed through facial expression that he is skinny and a scary man who opens his eyes like this as Liushina is showing. The knight thinks that this girl is a complete weirdo and tells Liushina to return. Liushina gets angry and tells them that if they are going to be like this, she has no other choice but to face them. At the Emperor's chamber, Urdius, the Emperor of Agnes, says that the person standing in front of him is certainly not Xian Agnes. Prince Xian observes that Urdius is sharp and wonders is this the authority of a ruler, even though he is on the verge of dying. The Emperor says the constitution a person is born with cannot be changed, but he notices a completely different and strange aura coming from Xian's body. Prince Xion perceives that the Emperor is the only one who can notice Xion's change the most. Xion says that as soon as the Emperor noticed that Xion had no talents, Erdius was the one who confined Xion to the Pointer Star Palace and turned a blind eye to the countless assassination attempts. Xion asks Erdius who is responsible for the Emperor's current state. Erdius says to Xion that he thought Prince Xion was on the same side as his enemies, but now he realizes that he was mistaken. Erdius shares a story about an incident that happened 400 years ago. Erdius says that since the first emperor, Agnes founded the empire, only one kingdom existed in the world, but one day, at the southern end of the continent, a place called the World's End, a demon realm emerged. No one knew why the demon realm emerged, but the demons born from the demon realm invaded the continent, and the war between demons and humans began. Numerous heroes were born and disappeared. However, about a century ago, the demon realm abruptly stopped all invasions. No one knew the reason, but humans were happy and rest assured. But they shouldn't have done that, says the Emperor. Prince Xion says that it is because the demon realm never stopped the invasion, they just pretended to stop it. Erdius says that Xion is right as the demons secretly infiltrated and hid themselves among humans, gradually to the point that no one noticed. And by the time Erdius discovered the truth, he was already poisoned by the demonic poison and couldn't do anything about it. He says that if he had attempted to root the demons out clumsily, the empire would have collapsed in an instant, and adding to that, there is no accurate way to differentiate the demons among humans either. Prince Xion asks Erdius, is this the reason that he has not selected a successor either? Erdius replies that yes, because he cannot ascertain among the candidates who had come in contact with the demons, and says that maybe some of them have already become the hands and limbs of the demons. Erdius asks the one who disguised himself as Xion what he is planning to do with the imperial city. Xion answers that he is going to devour it. He is going to devour the White Star Palace, the imperial city, and even this empire, without any exceptions. By hearing the answer of Prince Xion, the Emperor laughs, while saying that it's better for Xion to devour this palace rather than it having collapsed due to the demon realm's invasion. Then we have complete silence for a moment, and the Emperor asks Xion to find the shadow because they're the final watchmen who have been passed down through generations to prepare for such an event. Erdius severed his relationship with the shadow, the moment he was poisoned to avoid being caught by the demons. But he says that Xion should be fine. They are also known as the Eternal Shadow. They are the limbs of the Emperor who operate in the shadows, the intelligence organization that would form a double wall with Eye of the Moon later. Prince Xion replies that he would surely find them. The prince thinks that the more information he has, the better it would be for him, as he cannot always depend on the novel, and by saying this, Prince Xion leaves Erdius's chamber. After the prince's departure, the Emperor laughs and says that he would be looking forward to what Xion does in the future. 2 advantages are granted to those of the imperial family who pass the succession ceremony. One is the audience with the Emperor, and the other one is a place called Starry Dreams. It's a place that can't be infiltrated unless they are from the Agnes's direct descendant. Upon reaching the Starry Dreams, Prince Xion meets with Vela, the warehouse keeper, who greets the young prince. The warehouse keeper congrats Xion for passing the succession ceremony, and she says that this place is where all the treasures beyond his imagination lies, and the best of all the treasures in the entire world. She says that he can only take one item from this place. Prince Xion asks the housekeeper that this isn't all there is to it. She says that of course not. But the treasures further inside are steeped in myths and legends, so the weapons are said to choose their masters. If an unchosen forcefully tries to use the weapon, they may lose their lives. The warehouse keeper asks whether Prince Xion wants to venture inside even after hearing this. Prince Xion tells her to take him inside, Vela says that she understood and she bears no responsibility if anything happens to the young prince. Prince Xian enters further inside, along with Vela, and looks at the heavenly fall sword Rigveda, one of the 3 mythic grade weapons in the greatest treasury, the Starry Dream. As he was going to touch the sword, he senses his own sword, Eclaxia, which he used to use when he was the emperor. He wonders how could the sword he used when he was the emperor exists in this novel. Vela says Xian not to touch this sword as it belonged to the sword that was once used by the first emperor of the Agnes Empire. It wasn't put there to be taken by anyone, and tells him to watch out, and we witness a black aura coming out of the Eclaxia. At the estate, the 3rd prince's personal knight and messenger is traveling in a car which is going near the front gate of the estate. He is traveling while reminiscing that, when he shared the information about Xion, who passed the succession ceremony, and also all the supervisors who were ordered to kill Prince Xion were all murdered. This news made the 3rd prince very angry. The prince asked the informant whether he has any further news about the knights who were also murdered. The informant answers that he is still looking at the matter. At present, the knight is thinking that there are only a handful of people who are capable of using blood magic, and it's extremely rare, and even there are no particular movements from the blood tower, the knight concludes, while noticing that some knights are running towards the front gate of the estate. The driver says that someone is trying to trespass into the palace at the front gate, and the knights are trying to stop that person. The messenger asks how many people are trespassing. The driver replies that there is only one person, and she is a girl in her 20s, and by seeing that it looks like getting rid of that girl is taking longer than expected for the knights. Only one, the informant repeats and asks whether there is any other particular or strange thing about that girl. The driver answers that he is not sure, but according to him, that lady uses blood as a medium for her attacks, and there are some dangerous beasts around her. The word blood magic surprised the messenger. He says that it's rare for the citizens of the capital city to use blood magic, and if he can capture that girl, he might be able to gather some news about the knight's disappearance. He orders the driver to take him near the front gate, as he has to see with his own eyes. The driver says that he would gladly follow Sir Regan's order. In the next scene, the history of Eclaxia came into view. Prince Xion says that when the entire world lost its light due to the solar eclipse, a meteor fell from the sky onto the earth. That meteor could not be affected by any kind of power, and its surface was shrouded in deep darkness, like a pitch-black aura. The weapon made from such meteor was none other than Eclaxia, also known as the light-extinguishing sword. This sword expelled all power, except the power of the Black Starfall, and was only receptive to it, and to be exact, it even amplified Xion's power. Why Eclaxia is here, and where is the other half of Eclaxia, Xion wonders. Now there is one more thing for Xion to figure out. He says to Vela that he would choose this sword, and he asks that whether choosing it would be a problem or not. Vela seems confused and replies sure he can. Prince Xion leaves the Starry Dreams. Then we hear the screaming of the knights to stop Liushina, even by killing her if needed. The knights charge at Liushina, but all of them are sent flying with a single slash. The remaining knights wonder how the honorable knight troop, who are in charge of protecting the imperial palace, is being pushed by merely a single woman. Liushina says that she was ordered not to cause any trouble, and it's really getting hard for her to fight without killing anyone. Suddenly, the ground under Liushina's feet shakes and an earth golem appears and crushes Liushina. The person who attacked Liushina with that golem is Sir Regan. Regan orders all the knights to stand back as he is going to take care of the matter. Liushina breaks the golem into pieces as she feels intrigued because she got quite a strong opponent. She says that she can't hold back her powers now and jumps straight right up while releasing an attack at Regan. Regan asks Liushina whether she is from the Blood Tower, while covering himself with his Earth's power to withstand the attack. Liushina answers that she doesn't know anything about the Blood Tower, Reagan asks Leoshina whether she was the one who annihilated the knights. Leoshina replies that she has no idea what he is speaking about. Reagan says that he will cut Leoshina's limbs first, and then he is going to ask her again while summoning a huge bull. Leoshina tells Reagan that she would not stop with only one of her limbs being cut off, as both of them were going to release their ultimate attack. Prince Xian interfered with his dark energy and orders them to stop. Reagan becomes quite surprised by Xian's appearance. He thinks that, rather the imprisoned prince, Xian looks more like a destined ruler. Reagan concludes that the royal Agnes blood might have awakened within Xian, and that's why all the assassination attempts on him have failed until now. Leoshina calls Xian her master and asks why he is late. Reagan thinks why Leoshina is calling Xian her master. Leoshina meets Xian and tells him that she didn't know Xian is one of the royalty, while Reagan wonders whether Prince Xian was the one who ordered his servant to kill the assassins. All of the knights bows down in front of Xian and greets him. Xian states that he would take Leoshina with him. The Imperial Knight blames Leoshina for trespassing into the Imperial Palace without any authorization, and he also tells Xian that Leoshina is responsible for killing the knights. Prince Xian replies that he would like to know the name of the person who said that Leoshina trespassed without any authorization, because Leoshina was trying to get into the Imperial Palace under Prince Xian's permission officially, and furthermore, Prince Xian personally notified the knights about her arrival today. Prince Xian says that the knights are the one to blame here, as they were the one who failed to confirm Leoshina's identity and caused all this mess. Leoshina speaks from Xian's back that she tried so hard not to kill them. Prince Xian solves the misunderstanding and says that he believes there shouldn't be any further problems regarding this matter. All the knights apologize to Xian. Xian points out Regan and says that all the things he spoke a few moments ago applies to Regan as well. Regan bows his head down and replies that he would never dare to defy Prince Xian's will. Prince Xian enters the palace along with Leoshina, and lastly, he reminds Regan to watch his behavior from today onwards. In the next moment, at the estate in a yellow car, Leoshina tells Xian that she has done everything as per his orders, and she has also taken care of the extra that Xian told her about. Xian told Leoshina to leave traces of her blood magic intentionally when she was destroying the knights. Xian also told her not to hide her blood magic if a fight breaks out at the main gates of the castle. By doing this, people will notice Xian's intervention through Leoshina. Everything seems to be going well for Xian. He remembers that Regan was the henchman of the third prince. The prince would have caused another attack at the Pointer Palace and even at the succession ceremony, but Xian interfered in his plans. Xian thinks that the third prince might be gathering news about the knights' murderer, and he wonders what will be next. Move of the third prince. Prince Xian and Leoshina enters the Pointer Star Palace. Leoshina tells Xian that this palace is a bit too cramped considering the fact that he is a prince. Priscilla comes down from the stairs and greets the young prince, saying that it's been a while since they last met. Priscilla sees Leoshina and asks what is a woman doing with Xian, and why she has come along with Xian. Leoshina replies that he followed Xian here because Xian is her owner and master. Priscilla misunderstood the word master and seems confused. While Xian asks Fredo, "Why is Priscilla still inside this palace?" Fredo replies that the princess said that she stopped by because her divorce procedure wasn't finished yet. Xian thinks that Priscilla is making an excuse. He walks up the stairs while ordering Fredo to kick Priscilla out kindly. Priscilla says to wait, but in the next moment she thinks whether she has the right to hold back the prince now, as they have already agreed to get divorced. But funny enough, from the day they announced that they would break off the engagement, Prince Xion had been on Priscilla's mind, and according to Priscilla is more like curiosity than love. She says that Prince Xion hadn't left her head since that day of the monster attack. At present, she doesn't even know the exact reasons why she has being like this. At one of the chambers of the Pointer Palace, Prince Xian tells Fredo that he is getting in contact with the shadows. Fredo asks Xian what does he meant by shadows. Liushina intervenes and says that shadows are called the assassination or intelligence groups. She points at Xian and asks whether she is right or wrong. Xian says that she is right, and the Shadows of Eternity are an information organizations who are also called the Eye of the Empire and can only be handled by the Emperor. He adds that the Shadows of Eternity's headquarters is stationed inside the Empire. Fredo says that if the Shadows of Eternity's hideout, that's secretive. Then, Prince Xian need to find out their locations first. Xian replies that he already knows about their locations. Prince Xian knows this information because it was clearly described in the book of the hero of Frosimar. Liushina praises Xian, saying that it was expected from her master as he knows everything. Fredo questions Xian whether they will be heading there right now. Prince Xian answers saying no, he is going to wait because a certain someone said that they would help. At the White Star Palace, where all the direct descendants of the Agnes family have gathered, Princess Evelyn thinks that this the first time everyone has gathered like this, other than the state meeting, and everyone present here seems more like opponents rather than allies. The first prince of the Agnes Empire hasn't even attended the meeting. Why on earth has the Emperor suddenly summoned all of them here today? Evelyn wonders. The fifth princess, Diana Agnes, pokes the third prince, whose name is Enoch Agnes, saying that he still has those eyes as gloomy as a corpse and the same messy hair. Enoch replies that Diana also has that same disgusting smell that reeks from hybrids. He questions whether all fairy hybrids smell like her. Diana laughs and tells Enoch that her smell is not as bad as Enoch's hobby, one of Enoch's hobbies which is making the youngest look miserable. How is it going these days? Diana questions. That question makes Enoch extremely angry. Enoch says that the young prince is the royal family's shame. His mere existence puts a scratch on the royal family's name, and Enoch also says that if Xian knew that, then Xian would have killed himself by now. The fourth prince, Udican Agnes, laughs while saying that Xian still managed to pass the succession ceremony all by himself, which is new. Diana also laughs, saying that for a person like Xian, passing the test was really unexpected. And to be honest, Diana thought that Xian wouldn't even try to participate in the ceremony. Diana glares at Enoch and says that Xian still managed to pass it, despite the fact that someone manipulated the ceremony. Enoch replies, even so, that won't make a difference because Xian won't be able to survive in this palace, even though he passed the ceremony, and according to Enoch, Xian still doesn't know his place. Evelyn intervenes and says that Xian has changed a lot lately, which is continuously surprising her. She also says that Xian probably won't stay put in this place like he used to do at the Pointer Palace. Enoch smirks and asks Evelyn if she wants to make a bet for how long she thinks Xian will last in this palace. All of them look back as they hear Prince Xian's voice. Prince Xian enters the White Star Palace with Liushina and says that he also wants to know how long he would last in this palace. As Xian meets his siblings, Enoch taunts Xian, saying that this palace's standards might have been lowered, that's why Xian can even set foot in this palace. The fourth prince, Udican, tells Enoch not to taunt Xian as Xian rightfully passed the succession ceremony, and he deserves to be here. Diana also agrees with Udican and says that Enoch's prejudice is too much. Diana notices that Xian has changed, as the rumor said, but she feels relieved as Xian still can't change anything. According to Diana, Xian might have that ominous aura, but it's still lacking when compared to her other older brothers. Evelyn walks up to Xian and tells him that he is late. Xian replies that he had some errands to run. Xian sees that the Emperor has not arrived yet as his throne is empty. Previously, the Emperor told Xian to look for the shadows, and he also said that he would give a helping hand to Xian as it would be difficult for Xian to find them. In this meeting, Xian has come to find out what the Emperor meant by the word help. As Xian was thinking about these things, Liushina calls him from his back. Liushina tells Xian, as all of the people present here are Xian's enemies, wouldn't it be a better idea to kill them all at once? Xian perceives that the people in this room are so powerful that they can't find another person strong enough to rival them, which is the reason for Liushina's sudden lust for killing. He realizes that he brought the wrong person along with him. Udakan grabs everyone's attention towards him and says that he thinks the Emperor will come a little late this time, so wouldn't it be boring just to wait for the Emperor to arrive? He says how does the idea of light sparring sounds because he wants to check Xian's abilities through which he passed the succession ceremony. Diana smiles and praises Udakan for such a wonderful idea, because she also wants to see how much powerful her younger brother has become. Udakan says that if Xian fights with his brothers, he will be put under a lot of pressure, so Xian's opponent will be one of the guys they brought as their escorts. Enoch smiles and says that he would choose the opponent for Xian. Evelyn gets angry and asks Enoch what he is trying to do. Xian replies, saying sure, and that he doesn't have any problem with that. Xian thinks as his brothers and sisters are trying to turn this event into a spectacle, he would gladly oblige. Xian says that he doesn't like simple sparring. He says, if he is going to spar, it has to be a proper fight. Evelyn questions what nonsense Xian is blabbering about. Udakan cackles while saying that a man must have his spirit. He tells everybody to make space for the spar in the middle. Evelyn tries to stop Xian. She says the wizard that Enoch brought with him is not someone Xian can handle with his current abilities. Liushina tells Xian to leave the fight to her, and she would handle it in his place. Enoch tells the wizard to teach Xian a lesson. Udakan announces that the fight will now commence. Evelyn thinks how can she stop the fight now, while on the other hand Liushina seems disappointed as she wanted to fight the wizard. Suddenly Evelyn notices something that astonishes her. In mere seconds after starting the battle, they all witness that Xian's hand was stained with the blood of the wizard, and the wizard's head was cut off. At present, the wizard's head is lying near Enoch's feet, which surprises Enoch the most. He wonders how can Xian be so fast without using any magic ability or special techniques that his opponent can't even react to his attack. Xian reminds Enoch that he told him that this will be a real fight. Enoch becomes furious and tries to attack Xian, but at that moment, an announcement is made that the Emperor has arrived. Everybody greets the Emperor. The Emperor tells Enoch to clean this mess. Evelyn asks the Emperor how he has been these days. The Emperor says that it has been many days since they haven't met each other. So, considering that they wouldn't know that his health is not that good these days, he says that he would get straight to the point. The reason he called everybody here is to choose a successor, and to be exact, he has already decided. The Emperor announces that the successor of the Agnes Empire will be Xian Agnes. Xian realizes that it was the Emperor's intention from the very beginning. That's interesting for Xian because when it comes to legitimacy, that would get Xian closer to being the next emperor, and controlling the shadows will become easier for him. But the problem is that Xian's brothers and sisters will not acknowledge him as a successor. Both Enoch and Udakan get shocked and ask the Emperor why he made Xian the successor. Diana also shouts, saying that it's ridiculous because Xian is the imprisoned prince, and the Emperor was the one who imprisoned him at the Pointer Palace in the first place. So why now he is making Xian the successor? Diana questions. Evelyn politely asks the Emperor why he chose Xian as the successor. The Emperor replies that according to his judgment, Xian is the most suitable one to be the next emperor among them. Enoch shouts that he can't accept this and will never accept Xian as the emperor. Diana thinks that the Emperor has made up his mind, which can't be reversed, so she wonders what she can do next. Diana speaks that she understands the Emperor and will follow his wishes, but she asks for the permission to make a suggestion. Diana says that everyone present here most likely knows what names people gave Xian. People used to call Xian the imprisoned prince, the cowardly royale, Agnes shame. There are no good words there, and in fact, Xian has acted according to them until now. She says that Xion has changed recently, but not many people know of it yet, and if the Emperor chose Xion as the successor and declares it to the public, the royal family will get backlash from the assembly, the nobles and the knights. Diana says that there will be no end to the doubts and complaints and the resistance, so she asks the Emperor whether it's a good decision to make Xion the next Emperor. Diana says that they should give Xion a chance to prove his worth as a successor. She says that Xion should prove himself with the trial of the 7 great calamities, where rebellion, conflict, monsters with transcendental powers, etc. exists, the term that describes the greatest dangers and disasters in the Empire. She says that it's a trial Xion needs to overcome eventually in order to become an emperor. So, if Xion resolves it now, the rebellion will disappear, and it'll serve as a chance for Xion to gain supporters. Xion expected that this kind of things would happen. Both Enoch and Uticon agrees to Diana's suggestion. Prince Xion says that it's not a bad idea because it's something he has to do eventually. Xion says that he would take this chance to prove himself. However, he says that, next time, they have to prove themselves to him. 1 week passed since the meeting with the Emperor. Prince Xion is in his training ground, and he had been training his body and researching Eclaxia this past week. At present, with the current condition of Eclaxia, it's difficult for Xion to use it in a real battle, and if he wants to use Eclaxia, he would need the other missing half of this sword. Xion can manifest the other half of the blade with Black Star, but it would be difficult for him to maintain it for long because of his sloppy body, but fortunately, he can still utilize other effects of this sword. Xion says that this sword has 2 effects, which is Black Star's storage and amplification. If Xion uses these 2 effects, he can increase the effectiveness of the Black Star fall much more rapidly and efficiently. Xion realizes that he only needs to improve the physical aspect and the absolute quantity of the Black Star's energy. He says that if he uses Eclaxia now, solar eclipse might not be possible, but at least he should be able to use lunar eclipse. He didn't use these techniques very often in his previous life because it took a lot of toll on his body. He realizes that the current Xion needs a technique to use these effects, so he tries to use Eclaxia by providing it the power of the Black Star. He feels a sudden uneasiness in his body as he was able to create a lunar eclipse for a short moment. He says that if he had gone any further with Eclaxia, it would have genuinely taken a toll on his body. Xion feels relieved, knowing that at least he would be able to use lunar eclipse. Lastly, Xion says that it's his turn to confront the eyes of the Empire, and he leaves the training ground. In the next scene, Diana feels that she needs to look further into Xion's recent activities. She orders her informant to focus on Xion's present actions rather than the past, and she tells them to give her the reports as detailed as possible. She asks one of her informants about the search of the eye. The informant tells Diana that he found a tail for now, but they haven't progressed beyond that. She orders them to put fire on that tail so that it will reveal its whole body. Diana says that she is curious to see what will happen next. At the Imperial Palace, it's the first time for Xion to see a place as deserted as this. Xion is seeing the statues and portrait of the past emperor who ruled the Agnes Empire. There were not as many emperors as Xion thought. After walking for a while, he comes near the portrait of the Eternal Emperor. The first emperor of Agnes Empire in the novel of the hero of Frosimar, as well as the mythical figure who unified the world. Xion notices that this emperor's name is Aurelion Khan, Agnes, which was Xion's name in his previous life, when he reigned as the first emperor of Agnes in the real world. Prince Xion kind of expected this ever since he discovered Eclaxia in Starry dreams. He thinks that maybe his name was used here, just like the writer inserted the whole Agnes Empire directly in his novel. Xion was staring at the portrait while someone speaks from his back. The voice says that the Eternal Emperor, the founder of this empire, and the unifier of this world, despised leaving any records about himself. This portrait is hung for appearance's sake, but in reality, it holds no meaning. Xian looks back at the lady. The lady greets Xian and introduces herself as Thierry Ilonès, the curator of this Agnes History Museum. Thierry says that she didn't expect Prince Xian to have an interest in the Agnes royal family's history. She adds that the other royals don't visit this place anymore. Xian replies that he also feels the same way as her, because there's not much to see in this place. Thierry says that she agrees with Xian, but she considers that this place is not simply a place where items from past emperors are displayed, but a place where people like the royalty can infer and learn about their lives through the records the past emperors have left behind. Xian replies saying, really, then he would like to ask one thing. He says he would like to know about the eternal shadows of the empire. Thierry Ilonès asks Xian by saying shadows whether he is referring to the organization that is rumored not to reveal themselves. She says that the emperor of the empire certainly maintains such organizations. Xian tells Thierry that she is playing innocent because the eternal shadows are also known as the eyes of the emperor and the best of the empire, the last information organization, and Xian reveals that the leader of this organization is none other than Thierry Ilonès herself. After hearing that, Thierry starts to walk and tells Xian to follow her. Xian follows her further inside that place. Thierry, while opening the magic seal on the door, tells Xian that ever since the emperor appoints Xian as his successor, she knew that Xian might come to this place because there was no reason for the emperor to appoint someone as his successor this quickly. Thierry tells Prince Xian that they are the most secretive and excellent eyes in the empire. They solely answer to the emperor's commands, and even then they retain the right to refuse if they determine the order endangers the empire's prosperity. She tells Xian that they, the eternal shadows of the empire, have been observing him for longer than he might think. But they also can't even completely fathom the recent shifts in Xian's actions. She says that Xian's actions were impossible from what they have understood so far. Thierry says that if Xian wants to acquire the trust of the eternal shadows, then he has to prove himself first, that he, Xian Agnes of the Agnes Empire, is not an evil entity in disguise. Many swords come towards Xian. Xian says his favorite word interesting and dodges the attack. As soon as Xian dodges the attack, he comes across many golem knights. Xian perceives that the golems are made from a very sophisticated magic spell, but he cannot understand why the eternal shadows would use mere golems to test him, because it's making Xian's work more easier. All of the golems charge at Xian, and one of them swings their sword at him. Xian successfully dodges the attack and uses his Black Star fall power to create a magic spell to destroy the core of the golem knight. The eternal shadows are all watching Xian's movements while staying behind in a magic barrier. Thierry asks one of her comrades to inform her how Xian is doing right now. Her comrade replies by asking Thierry to see with her own eyes the skills Xian is showing. Thierry watches how Xian is destroying the cores of the golems with such ease. She wonders how can someone defeat the golems that easily, because in terms of strength and defense the golems are on par with the Imperial Knights. Xian finishes his test and he notices someone with a threat, so he releases his Black Star's dark aura at the magic barrier. At first glance, Thierry thinks that Xian is using Celestial Star C, but after looking properly, she realizes that the power Xian is wielding is completely different from the Celestial Star C. The magic barrier shatters. Xian enters the area. He says that the eternal shadows told him that he has to prove himself, but he tells them that he is not the one who should be proving himself while attacking one of their members. Xian says that the eternal shadows should be the ones who need to prove themselves to him. Xian uses his hand and pierces the heart of the lady with his dark aura. He thinks that, according to the novel, the eternal shadows were disbanded even before the war began. Due to the demonic species hiding themselves, even inside the eternal shadows, Thierry gets scared and asks whether it's a demonic energy, as she wonders how the demons infiltrated the eternal shadows. The monster screams at Xion, calling him a scoundrel, while Xion brings out his sword, Eclaxia. Tiar recognizes that sword. Xion uses Eclaxia and completely annihilates the monster. Xion thinks that he was right in his judgment when he said that Eclaxia will take a huge toll on his body. As Xion looks back, he seems confused as he watches the leader of the Eternal Shadows, Thierry Ilonès, along with other members, bowing in front of him and greeting him as the successor of eternity. Xion says that the Eternal Shadows, as the name suggests, was founded by the Eternal Emperor. They served many emperors even after the Eternal Emperor passed away, but the Eternal Emperor was the one whom they truly devoted their lives to serving. They have been waiting for the true successor of Eternal Emperor to appear and lead them. Xion becomes the successor of the Eternal Emperor, and he asks Thierry again to be sure. Thierry tells Xion that from today onwards, he is the successor of the Eternal Emperor, and tells him not to deny that he used Eclaxia. It's a fact that Eclaxia is a sword which only accepted the touch of the Eternal Emperor or the first Emperor of the Agnes until now. This fact is known by all the shadows. Thierry says that since Xion has used that extinguishing sword, refuting this fact will only make it weirder. Xion thinks that it's actually making his work easy. Xion tells them that he would provide them a list of names who have infiltrated the shadows. He says that the list will contain the names of the demons lurking in this palace. They just have to remember the names and be vigilant. Then, Xion asks for the current state of the shadows. Thierry explains regarding the eternal shadows, beginning with a general review. She ends her report and says that there is one current matter which is proving to be troublesome and needs Xion's attention. She says that not too long ago, Princess Diana discovered one of their branches. She tells Xion that normally, in this case, they'd just abandon the branch, like cutting a tail, but they couldn't do that now, because they're a small, elite force which are always short-staffed. She tells the prince that, when they tested him, they were forced to resort to golems because they had no manpower. Thierry adds that, in this kind of situation, if they abandon an entire branch, it would significantly impact their intelligence gathering capacity. Thierry says that she has a solution. If they eliminate any traces and evacuate every one of their members from that branch, they will be safe. But the problem is that Princess Diana's forces will strike before they can evacuate. Xion says that if they need someone to buy them some time, he can easily resolve it because he happens to know the prefect person for that. At the Pointer Palace, after finishing Xion's order, Liushina comes to meet him. She sees Thierry and asks whether Xion got a new slave while she was away. Xion asks Liushina how her mission went. Liushina replies that she killed them all, and to be exact, she wiped them out as per Xion's wish, and she even left a trail. She asks, Xion, will it even matter if she leaves traces of her blood magic or not? Xion claims that Diana Agnes is a cynical person. Diana doesn't trust what she sees. She'll focus on the hidden 1% lie rather than the obvious 99% truth. Theory tells Xion that the trail that Liushina left behind will lead Diana to the third, Prince Enoch. Xion replies that she is correct. Enoch and Diana are not on good terms, so it'll be effective in clouding Diana's reasoning. Xion thinks that this incident will help him when he decides to eliminate Enoch in the future. He says that today will serve as the starting point to manipulating Diana later for his benefit. Xion demands to know the name of the person who brewed his coffee because it doesn't taste good. Fredo replies that it was a new servant assigned to the Pointer Star Palace. Xion thinks that it is a drink that didn't exist in his original world, so it's his only pleasure in this world. He perceives that his rivals might have put another spy in disguise of a new servant. Thierry says that she would dig up the background of the servants who recently came into the Pointer Palace. Zeon thinks that it doesn't really matter who the spies are or how strong they are, he can handle them with ease. Outside the Imperial Palace, two of the monsters disguised as humans are having a chat. The girl says to the man with the black robe that he is lucky that he didn't get caught with that face up until now. The man replies that there's no need for him to make faces in front of her. The girl asks why does he wants to meet her, because their meeting has not been scheduled yet. The man says that he has lost communication with a person named Dikarn, and he thinks that she might be dead. The girl replies that it's strange. The man says that he is still looking at the matter. He says that not only that, but even signals from several subordinates have been cut off too. The girl replies that it means someone is hunting them. The man says that the person who is hunting them is Zeon Agnes. He says that except Dikarn, who was at the Imperial Palace, most of their subordinates were people who were close to Zeon Agnes. The girl says that the exiled Imperial Prince is hunting them, so it might be worth looking into. The man says that then he would leave this matter to her. The girl smiles and says that the situations are getting more interesting. In the next scene, Diana receives the news that the 6th Battalion that was headed to the branch of the Shadows has been completely wiped out. Diana gets so furious that she breaks her teacup. She asks whether the informant really said the word wiped out. She says that she sent the Igracia, which is one of the best military groups of the Empire and the highest ranking even amongst the elementalist divisions. She says that the well-known Igracia, didn't get any injury caused a close encounter, but they simply got completely wiped out. How can it be, she wonders. She asks the informant what information he has about the discovered branch of the Shadows, because if her side was wiped out, the Shadows' side must have taken the equal damage. The informant says that judging by the evidence left at the scene, it was suggested that the 6th Battalion Igracia didn't even make it inside Shadows' branch building. There were traces of a fierce battle, and the bodies of the 6th Battalion members were discovered right in front of the building. He says that those traces do not lead inside the building, but it appears that they lost their lives right there, fighting the enemy. Diana realizes that the branch was a trap from the start, and she, Diana Agnes, walked into such measly trap. The informant adds that there were strong signs of blood magic at the site, and they've also received intel that the woman who recently joined Prince Zeon also uses blood magic. Diana asks whether he is referring to the woman she saw with Zeon in the throne room. The informant answers saying yes, and that woman is the only blood magician active inside the capital city lately. Diana says that, according to the circumstantial evidence, it should be correct to say that Zeon and that woman are responsible for this incident. But Diana suddenly seems confused because the information were fitting too perfectly, as if the main culprit are blatantly telling her to suspect Zeon. She wonders why would Zeon target Igracia in the first place. She asks the informant for any other clues. The informant tells her there were also some traces of summoning techniques. Diana says that's it. The person who uses that technique is the true culprit. She asks, who else in the capital right now is a summoner strong enough to wipe out the 6th Battalion? The informant answers that it's Regan, Ursula of the 3rd Prince's faction, and the summoning magic towers. Upon hearing that name, Diana becomes furious and screams Enoch's name, as she thinks he is the main culprit behind this incident. At the Imperial City, Fredo says that they will manage everything as per Zeon's orders till he returns. Lyushina says that she didn't expect them to depart from the Imperial City so soon after arriving. Zeon is going out of the Imperial City to give his test, as he said in the ceremony, that he would take the test of the Calamity. The citizens say that they got information that the two of them would get rid of the Calamity. The people think that Zeon and Lyushina have really gone insane. The people wonder whether Zeon and Lyushina are that detached, because they've only been staying at the Imperial City. One of the girls thinks that Zeon and Lyushina just choose the difficult way because they won't be able to resolve it in the first place. Regan greets Zeon and asks whether he is departing now. He tells Xian that his forces seem a bit inadequate to deal with the Calamity, but if it's your highness, he trusts that Xian would succeed somehow and wishes Xian good luck. Xian reminiscence that Thierry had told him that Reagan is suspicious regarding the source of Xian's powers. Xian thinks that Reagan might be here to see Xian's power. Then, he thinks that he can show him some of his power now. Xian replies to Reagan that he wishes good luck to Reagan too, while releasing some aura of the Black Star. Then, Xian leaves the area with Liu Shina. From one of the building's window, Evelyn sees Xian leaving the Imperial City. She orders her henchmen to get the Ashen Lion Division to tail Xian and Liu Shina. She tells them to follow Xian and protect him. Regan delivers a news to Enoch. He says that he thinks Xian has learned black magic. Enoch asks how much sure is Regan in his judgment. Regan replies that over 90%. Regan explains that it's a well-known fact that Prince Xian, who used to be so weak that he couldn't harm a spider, but he changed so ruthlessly that he doesn't even flinch at taking a life now. The unknown power that Prince Xian uses, the darkness looming over him, and even his uniquely atmosphere. Regan's claims that it's absolutely impossible to change this much unless Xian is involved with the demons, and as far as he remembers clearly, Regan says that it was only for a split second, but Xian's eyes were engulfed in a dark energy. Enoch asks Regan whether he is aware of the magnitude of the words he is speaking right now, because demonic energy is the source of black magic. He says that sorcery is the source of demonic energy, and borrowing power from the demons means turning mankind into their enemies. He asks, what would happen if one accepting this demonic energy was the direct bloodline of the imperial family? Regan thinks that, then, the authority of the entire imperial family would hit rock bottom, but it will also offer a valid excuse to officially dispose of Xian. Enoch asks Regan whether he has planned everything or not. Regan replies saying, of course, they will send out a group of bandits after Xian so that they don't get caught. In the city, Xian arrives at the gate of the Information Guild, named the Eye of the Moon. Liu Shina asks whether Xian is hungry, as according to her, it's looking like a restaurant. Xian replies that he is not hungry, but there is something he needs to order here. Xian enters, and the same waiter greets him. The waiter says that they have been waiting for Xian's arrival and tells Xian to follow him. Xian asks whether the waiter is going to throw a knife at him like last time. The waiter replies, that won't happen. Liu Shina seems disappointed and tells Xian that they actually didn't came here for eating. As she is saying this, both the waiter and Xian leaves Liu Shina behind. Liu Shina shouts at them to wait for her. Both of them arrive at the chamber of the branch manager, Aileen. Aileen greets the young Prince Xian and says that this time they are recognizing him unlike last time. Aileen says that if they still didn't know who Xian was this time, it will be a shame on their name, as the Information Guild. She asks what brings Xian here. Xian replies that there's only one reason he would be here, and the Information Guild might know that reason. Aileen says that if it's related to the Phantom Legend, they can't tell Xian anything either. Xian replies that he is aware of that. Aileen asks what does he mean by it. Xian even knows where the Phantom Legion would strike next, and originally, the hero and his party were supposed to resolve it, but Xian has no intention of handing over the reward to the Information Guild. The prince says that there is something else that he needs them to investigate. Xian hands Aileen a list of names and tells her that by the time he returns to the Imperial City, she must learn everything she can about the people written on this list, down to the smallest details. Aileen looks at the names which were from the Light Star Council, the most powerful people after the Emperor. Aileen asks whether Xian is trying to make a hit list. Xian replies that he is not sure, but the more information she gathers, the more benefits she would acquire. Xian asks for the identity of the informant Aileen assigned to Xian last time. Aileen replies that by informant is she referring to Nari? Xian tells Aileen to assign Nari again this time, because he might need to place an additional request. Aileen tells Xian that she understands the request, and as they are in that topic, she asks How was Xion's venture into the Black Forest? She says that the forest purified overnight, and only 2 people know the story, he and reincarnated. Aileen notices that the woman with red eyes has been sticking by his side ever since returning to the Imperial City. Her appearance is absolutely like the witch of the heavenly slaughter. So, she perceives that the 1,000-year-old witch isn't dead, but serving Xion. Xion puts a finger on his mouth and telepathically says that she is right, but she will get hurt if she knows too much. At one of the battlefield, there are traces of a fierce battle. One of the knights on the brink of dying tells to the others to, please, stop sacrificing himself to protect others, and tells him to live his own life for now. The other knight wonders whether he should retire now. At a village, a young kid tells a middle-aged man to teach him swordsmanship. The man tells the boy to stop disturbing him. The boy says that he would even offer the man a teaching fee, but the man refuses. The boy gets angry and walks out of that place. He says that the man could at least teach him a thing or two about swordsmanship. He says that he must quickly become strong because it's a peaceful-looking small village which is weak and poor with no security personnel at all. And he hates living in this powerless village that can't even stop a group of thieves. He says that he would become strong enough to leave this village one day. Xion and Liushina enter the village and pass the young boy. He realizes that they must be outsiders. The aged man is thinking that the young boy does remember that woman, so it must be true that they are blood-related. He was wondering if he could meet her sooner. Xion goes near that man. The man thinks that they must be outsiders and judging by Xion's hair color. The man thinks Xion could be of the imperial family. The man asks for Xion's identity. Liushina, as usual, is getting ready for killing that man. Xion orders her to wait. He introduces himself as the Xion Agnes. The man wonders if the person standing here in front of him is Xion Agnes, the abandoned purebred. Then the rumors were wrong, or Xion has been hiding his true self all this time. He asks the reason for Xion's arrival. Xion replies that he would be straightforward and get to the point. He offers the man to come under him. Xion says that this village will perish soon, and if the he comes under him, Xion will save him and this village. The man refuses. He explains that he doesn't believe in Xion's words, and also if this village were to perish, they could just avoid it before that happens. Xion says, "Very well," and leaves. Liushina asks why Xion didn't make him submit to him as he did with Liushina. She says that she had no idea that Xion would pull back like this and asks whether he would give up like this. Xion questions her whether heroes are born or made. Liushina replies what he is taking about all of a sudden. Xion says that he thinks it the former. The destiny of a hero is decided the moment they are born, and because of that, that man won't be able to resist in the end. While talking, Xion suddenly watches an assassin in disguise and attacks him and says that he would take care of this bastard's first. Liushina says that she has been desperately waiting for Xion to say that. All of the assassins charges at Xion, and Liushina takes them both down. One of the girl attacks them with magic. Xion uses his dark aura and sprints straight to that woman and takes her life by piercing her heart. Two of the assassins try to block him. Xion uses dark vision and shatters a part of the assassin's sword with only his finger. He also attacks that assassin in his heart. One of the assassins thinks that the Xion Agnes he knew by rumors has completely changed. He brings out a mysterious object like a ball induced in magic to help the assassin teleport. Xion notices that the assassin is going somewhere and breaks the magic ball and the circle surrounding. Xion says that he didn't expect them to appear so blatantly. Xion did predict that there would be some interference because his siblings will want him to fail his test the most than anyone else. Suddenly, Nari appears and says that these assassins have a separate main force. She says that their other force is waiting nearby and will attack the village soon. The young boy hears their conversation while hiding in the bush. He runs to alert the village because he doesn't want the same scene to repeat for the second time. He picks up his pace while repeating that he must alert the village at once. Zeon shows Nari some places that he wants them to investigate. Zeon says that from this point on, they will move as previously discussed. Liushina asks what he will do about the village then, as Nari said it's going to be attacked soon. Zeon replies that his current work comes first. Zeon says that there is someone in the village who will hold the attackers off. At a cliff, the demon's party are planning something. The demon named Caneless tells comrades that who would have thought that the Ghost King would be residing in such a remote location after his retirement. He curses the foolish Empire bastards because not only did they disregard such power, they even treated the Ghost King as a lowlife. The girl demon says that she heard that the Ghost King retired on his own accord and came here, which is good for them as they will be able to kill him much easily. Caneless thinks that they are obeying the orders of the 5 demonic spirits, those who command all monsters within the Empire, so their mission will definitely succeed. Caneless says that originally, they wouldn't even be able to hold a candle to the Ghost King. But with the help of the thing in his hand, the story will shift. The thing in his hand coordinates to summon the Phantom Legion. He says that even they are dealing with the Ghost King. The Ghost King will not be able to handle an entire army by himself. One of the demon tells them that he heard in order to prove himself as a successor, Imperial Prince. Zeon chose the Phantom Legion catastrophe. Caneless says that the disposed prince won't be able to get rid of the army, and the girl intervenes and says that the young prince won't stand a chance against the Phantom Legion. The monster says that maybe Zeon never planned to solve the catastrophe in the first place, because he only brought one subordinate when he left the Imperial Palace. The monster explains there's no way for the Imperial people to know where the Phantom Legion would appear, so this is a perfect excuse for Zeon. The monster doesn't think that Zeon will come, even if they provide him the coordinates. One of the demons says that they must be careful of Zeon because an order regarding Zeon has arrived from the higher-ups. The girl questions what orders. The demon answers. He received an order to place Zeon on the watch list, and it came after Zeon departed from the Imperial Palace. The girl replies that those above must think that the disappearance of the demons inside the Imperial Palace is related to Zeon Agnes. Sionless says that it means Prince Zeon has been hunting down the demons. The demon replies that it may be hard to believe, but if it's true, Prince Zion must have completely figured out about their existence in advance. Caneless goes on to say that there is no way Zeon could do that, but suddenly gets interrupted by Zeon. Zeon kills the monster in front of the demons so fast that they couldn't even react. Zeon tells them that he is curious about something. The prince says that he thought he has blocked all method of leaking information about him, but he asks them, how did they manage to find about his whereabouts? When the boy reaches the village, it was already under attack. People are screaming to spare their lives. The boy cries as he sees the same things repeating in front of his eyes. He thinks that he doesn't want to lose the village again. He charges at the monsters disguised as humans with a weapon. One of the attackers grabs the boy's neck. The attacker says that he loves the boy's gaze, so he would especially gouge the boy's eyes first. The attacker moves his hand towards the boy's right eye. The boy thinks that in the end, he just wanted to protect this village. The boy hears a voice telling him to close his eyes. In mere seconds, the middle-aged man who used to be the captain of the knights in his prime days deals with 2 of the monsters. The captain, reminiscent his past, when he was told by one of his fellow comrades to live his own life happily and not to sacrifice himself in order to protect others. The captain says sorry to his dead comrade because now he can't grant him that request. The girl demon asks Zeon who he is. The demon tells her that the man who attacked them is Zeon Agnes. Caneless seems confused by Zeon's ambush. He wonders how Zeon came here, and if he knows their identity or not. He also thinks, what they will do now, and moreover, he doesn't know the source of Zeon's power, which is unlike others. Cainless says that one thing is for sure: the power Zeon is showing is not something like the disgrace of the imperial family, as they've heard of so far. He thinks that they must kill him. Zeon thinks that the demons he is facing now are certainly different. Their power is on a whole different level compared to the demons he has fought up until now. At his current level, he can handle 2 of them at most. Zeon wonders what he should do now. 3 of the demons attack Zeon altogether. Zeon has no other choice. He wanted to save his trump card as best as he could. Zeon brings out Eaia, a mythical weapon which contains the power of its owner and is passed down, greatly increasing the power of the user recognized by the weapon. Then, Zeon wants to see how different his power is when he holds Eaia, the light-extinguishing sword, in his hand, compared to when he is not holding, so he uses Black Flash, which hits one of the demons. He then goes to attack the girl demon and completely overpowers her. Both the demons try to attack Zeon at that moment, but Zeon teleports himself to a safe place. Zeon realizes that he must end this quickly, because he can only maintain this blade for around 10 minutes, but he can't afford to spend a whole 10 minutes in this place. The real game is yet to commence, as he has only 2 minutes left to spend in this place. Zeon attacks the demon. The demon says that he will not fall for the same trick twice and releases a grass attack at Zeon. On the other hand, Cainless stretches his hand to attack Zeon. Cainless smiles as he thought Zeon might have taken a huge damage, but the next moment he gets surprised to see Zeon perfectly standing as if nothing had happened. Zeon gets behind Cainless and slashes his back. Cainless thinks he can dodge this one, but Zeon suddenly appears in front of him and swings his sword at Cainless. The demon attacks Zeon to stall some time. Zeon says that the light-extinguishing sword nullifies all demonic energy. It touches, but right now, it can't sever all of those tentacles, but it really doesn't matter to Zeon because he has another trick up his sleeve. He uses a new power named Dark Stream, Savage Form, which completely overwhelmed his opponent. Cainless watches. The ominous sword, absorbing all the surrounding light, is one thing, but he says that the strange power surrounding Prince Zion is like pitch-black darkness. He thinks that power is certainly not the celestial star sea that the descendants of the Agnes imperial family use. How could Zeon possess such power, he wonders. He says that even among monsters, notorious for their murderous intent towards everything, there is probably no one that uses such a terrifying power like Zeon's. Then he remembers that there was one person. He wasn't an existence of evil, but he harnessed a power similar to that. He was the eternal Emperor Aurelion Khan Agnes. Cainless decides to run away because he must alert the higher-ups quickly. As he was running, he notices that both of his hands are being covered with a dark aura. Cainless loses both of his hands due to the dark aura. Cainless thinks that at this rate he will really perish. At that moment he uses his last resort and summons the Phantom Legion. He tells Zeon to dodge that attack if he can. Phantom Legion appears from the night sky. Zeon perceives that Cainless probably planned to steal the coordinates of the Phantom Legion before he showed up, but Zeon thinks that he will never let Cainless go, even if he calls the Phantom Legion. Lastly, before killing Cainless, Zeon says that he has been waiting for Cainless to summon the Phantom. The young boy recognizes that the person standing in front of him and protecting him is Uncle Liam. Red Hat leader Yuquan says that he has never heard of someone like Liam. His comrade says the word Ghost King. Yuquan repeats that the Ghost King is Liam Raynor. He is the captain of the demon exterminating squad, one of the Empire's heroes who survived and put an end to the battle against the demons. Yuquan says that he didn't hear anything like this when he received the commission. The commissioner said that they will just turn a small village upside down. Yuquan realizes that it's too late for running away now, so he charges at Liam with his spear. Liam throws a punch which didn't even come in contact with Yuquan's spear, but the pressure he exerted was enough to break Yuquan's body into pieces. Liam asks the young boy whether he is fine or not. The boy replies while nagging that how can Liam not teach him swordsmanship when Liam is this strong? Liam tells the boy that he doesn't know swordsmanship. Liam remembers that Xion said that this village is going to perish. The Ghost King perceives that Xion wouldn't have warned him like that just because of a few assassins. Then what in the world is happening right now? Liam wonders. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake, and they witness a barrier covering the entire village. The barrier is so advanced that Liam can't fathom it, and the range is so wide that he can't even sense anything outside of it. As the entire village gets quarantined, Liam thinks that it might be the Phantom Legion. Liam says that the Phantom Legion consists of people who have been cursed by Kronos, the ancient god, those who are forced to live as they were forever, an army of those who cannot live or die. Liam thinks that he can't stop them with his own power. Unless he could ascend to heaven, there's no way he could stop that legend all by himself. Liam Rayner wonders whether Prince Zion knew that this catastrophe would appear in this place from the beginning. The people are panicking as they can't find a place to run. Liam tells the boy to stay safe. The Ghost King releases his aura and says to himself that he must protect the village. Lyoshina stops Liam while saying that he is not supposed to steal someone else's prey. Lyoshina says that she has waited for a long time for this moment. Liam Rayner tells Lyoshina that she alone cannot handle them. Lyoshina replies that she can handle it and she is not alone because she has her minions who will do the job for her. Lyoshina uses blood magic and summons her beasts. Lyoshina says that she would wipe them all out today with her army of beasts. Suddenly, the barrier cracks at one point and Xion is responsible for it as he enters the village by breaking the barrier. An enormous energy that Xion can feel, even when he is this far, is certainly worthy to be called one of the 7 great calamities, according to Xion. Xion remembers that, in the Chronicles of Frosimar, the hero wiped out that phantom legend together with his comrades. Although Xion has no such comrades, but instead, he has the most important key that he has prepared to attack the Phantom Legion. Xion says that he has the Witch of the Heavenly Slaughter, Lyoshina Bloodwalker, while landing on the ground. Upon landing, Xion looks for something and finds it. Xion feels that its energy and atmosphere is on a different level from those other phantom warriors. It's a unique presence that can be clearly felt even from afar. The prince says that the knight who is riding the black horse is the ruler of this phantom legend and the king cursed by Kronos, the ancient god. Xion smiles and says that the ruler of the Phantom Legion was his target all along.